Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
They should name a gender after you. I mean, looking at you doesn't do it. The staring is the only way that makes any sense, and trying not to blink so you don't miss anything and all of that. And you're you. I mean, look, forgive me. It's just that you are drop dead, crazy, gorgeous, so much that I'm actually considering looking at you again before we podcast here.
God, I'm stressed out. I just had like an acid flashback thinking about that.
There are a lot of lines I could have done, but I want to save them for in-depth discussion because there are like 7 specific lines of dialogue in this movie that could comprise the entire episode if we just analyze them.
We're convening a congressional subcommittee about this movie, and we're gonna go in depth on every line.
This is I know we're recording these episodes far in advance, so I've been holding a hot hand. I have some hot information that isn't public yet at the time of this recording. But by the time the episode comes out, it will be public knowledge.
Yeah.
Once the Trump-Russia collusion investigation is wrapped up, Robert Mueller has been assigned to head a special committee to investigate Spanglish.
Oh yeah, Spanglish is it's high time that we send everyone responsible for this movie right to jail.
Right.
Yes.
Spanglish has been legal for far too long. And it's because the fat cats up in Capitol Hill are getting rich off of Spanglish. It's lining their pockets, so they're not willing to say a goddamn thing. The fucking Spanglish lobbyists.
This movie sold 7 million tickets in the United States.
That is the final domestic total?
I wanted to look up tickets because I wanted to think about how many people had seen it.
Right, 7 million.
7 million tickets.
Okay, so that was in theaters, so since the time of its release, it has been seen by 7,000,005 people.
Yeah, because Adam Sandler does have it on DVD.
Do you know this movie was released on Blu-ray? I was just like, this is 100% a movie that will never be released on Blu-ray. That's like, a format that will never have a complete
Weirdly, it was also released on Laserdisc.
And fucking UHD 4K Blue.
And Betamax.
And minidisc?
Yeah, it was released on 8 minidiscs.
Could you imagine owning Spanglish
audio only
on Blu-ray? God, I worn that DVD out. John Seale's lush frames aren't popping the way I need them to.
I buy our movies on Blu-ray usually, when we're doing a miniseries.
Did you buy Spanglish?
No.
Do you know how much it costs on Amazon?
How much?
Take a guess. Because you've been saying you've been buying them because Blu-rays are so cheap now that it's usually a dollar or two more than renting.
Yeah. But you're saying how much would it cost to buy the film and own it forever on Amazon?
I believe I checked today and it was $24.
So worth it.
Okay, great. There we go. Our guest spoke before he was introduced. Now we can start the podcast. Hello, everybody. My name is Griffin Newman.
David Sims. It's $22.99 right now.
Okay.
And that's reduced from $27, so... hot.
Can you imagine?
In stock. Just imagine ordering it and then a robot has to, its alarm has to go get it. And someone's like, there's like an old watchman who's like, the Spanglish.
The Raiders of the Lost Ark music is playing.
There's like the robot gets it and dust sort of goes everywhere.
Somewhere Leone just sits up with us.
I feel a great disturbance in the force.
Madam Secretary, we need you back.
She's Madam Secretary. I forgot about that. Oh, I love her as Madam Secretary.
I do too.
Man, there's a cast and crew commentary. Sorry, director and crew commentary.
Can I tell people what this podcast is?
Yes.
This is Blank Check.
Mm-hmm.
It's a podcast about filmographies. Directors who have massive success early on in their career and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce baby.
True.
And this is a miniseries about the films of James L. Brooks.
That's right.
Of course, called As Pod as It Casts.
No, it's not. Stop doing that bit, you bastard.
David thinks it's called Podcast News.
Which it is. Which you confirmed to our art guy.
The truth is subjective.
You're the one who sent the email. I thought you were going to make a fuss.
Because I'm a professional.
Yeah, Podcast News, people.
It's called Podcast News.
Yes. What do you think, Richard?
I think that's good. I was trying to come up with one for Spanglish, but it doesn't work.
Podcast list. Our guest today, of course, one of our favorites.
Mm-hmm.
One of listeners' favorites. One of America's favorites.
Yes, who wrote and shot and edited Spanglish.
He did.
I did. Yeah, it was.
I mean, Brooks directed, but you did a lot of the other stuff.
I was stuck in a kind of a rut with writing my trolls.
Yes.
So which was, it took me 20 years to write that.
Course,
Development hell.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had put it in turnaround myself.
Yeah, it was in many turnarounds.
So as a side project, I had this story just kind of rattling around.
Well,
my
and
head.
this was, to be fair.
Wait, there's a story in this movie? I
No, we
recall.
cut that.
Okay.
To be fair, Spanglish came out of aborted subplots for your trolls.
Right, this
Right,
was...
This was
Right,
like
'cause
you cut off a limb and then it turned into its own full story.
Right, there was a troll made.
My trolls, originally the villain was Leone.
She is the villain of
But
this.
she was too
fully.
frightening for the trolls, right?
right,
So
no.
you had to move
It
her
was
to a
it was a
PG-13
children's
movie.
movie.
Right,
Exactly,
exactly. Yeah.
Our guest today, you of course know him best from K-19 The Widowmaker,
That's right.
Vanilla Sky,
True.
Lady
in the Water.
Lady in the Water.
I was going to say, Richard, that's sort of like late 90s, early 2000s. That's a Saving Private Ryan as
Saving
well.
Private Ryan.
That's like the zone you're in.
Oh,
for
I like
us.
it. That's
yeah,
where-
exactly.
that's where I'm
you
at.
always gravitate right to that. So
Yeah.
like, doot, doot,
Yeah,
doot,
like
doot.
me as a teenager or in college.
Right.
That's where we're at.
host the Little Gold Man podcast, writes for Vanity Fair, and is now a published novelist. At the time this episode's coming out,
It'll
you're
be
at
out.
the top of the charts, Richard. Richard Lawson, the great Richard Lawson, is here with us today to talk Spanglish.
Hola. Do you get that?
So,
I just searched for Spanglish in the MPAA and I got no results.
Your computer shut down.
I wanted to see what it was rated PG-13 for because I thought that would be amusing.
no, don't you know this is the only movie to be unrated due to lack of interest?
Rating? I don't know.
Jack Valenti was like, absolutely not. And then he died.
See it if you want to. What do I care?
The one movie that is simultaneously completely inoffensive and totally offensive,
Yes.
and
right.
thus unrateable.
Yeah, it's a war crime.
So we'd been batting around James L. Brooks for a long time. We'd been batting it around.
To
And
me,
then-
this was always the crux of the Brooks
Right.
argument.
Right.
This one. I mean, and the next one, and the next
Sure.
one, because the money in it.
But this one's fascinating. And this movie has weirdly had a kind of long tail as a punchline. Like people always cite this as like a weird, like more I think within the arc of the Adam Sandler trying to make his dramatic or dramedic, tragicomic career happen, which has never fully gotten off the ground. And it's a dumb fucking title.
Spanglish.
Right. But the second we committed to doing it,
It's named after the famed General Spanglish of the Civil War, so maybe show some respect.
yes, 5 comedy points.
Thank you. Just sounds like a general's name.
Yes. The second we committed to Brooks, you threw your hat into the ring. That you needed to do Spanglish because you believe and will die on this hill that Taylor Leone's performance in Spanglish is the single bravest performance ever committed to film.
Yes, and I had not rewatched it, and rewatching it, I still believe it's brave. It's also fucking crazy, and she should have left. Like, she should have walked off the set.
But I agree
And
with
off the
I
country.
agree with both. Because Taylor Leone is in a different movie than everyone else. Taylor Leone is in a Lars von Trier rom-com.
Correct.
I think one of the many problems with this movie is everyone's in a different movie.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Taylor Leone is in.
Yeah, Cloris Leachman's doing like pantomime
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah.
But,
Good
but
pantomime.
there is people talk about quote unquote brave performances, and especially with actresses, it's usually a dumb fucking.
It means like
handle. They got
like
naked.
You get naked, or you go through a lot of like abuse or something,
right.
or you deglam.
They scrubbed off your makeup and you cry a lot. It's
yeah.
usually kind of like a loaded, weirdly
Right.
kind of backhanded thing to say. Like it's brave
What
for
a
you to
brave
not
thing.
be,
Right,
you know.
yeah.
Right.
But this is actually brave because she so fully commits to not trying in any way to endear herself to the audience at all.
Like, at all.
At
Right.
all.
No, and it's a complete immolation of her kind of persona at that time,
Right.
of her career. It's just like she puts it all on the line. It blows up in her face catastrophically.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You are
But,
watching
like-
a career end.
Yeah, essentially.
But I
Yes.
I so deeply respect it. Like,
absolutely.
I've
Yeah.
always loved Taylor Leone. I've always
She's good.
She's one of those actresses where I always go like, how did that not ever fully happen?
And then you rewatch Spanglish.
well, there's this
Yeah.
weird thing where I think she is incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
She's a very good actor. She has unbelievable comedic timing.
Yeah.
Like she has just incredible like fucking chops.
Yes.
She was a great reporter for MSNBC until
100%.
until she died.
Right.
Shouldn't have gone to that beach with her dad. Should have gotten
so
in
annoying.
a fucking cave.
And she had a lot of big films. Like she had a run in the 90s where she was like placed front and center in a lot of different things that could make someone a movie star.
I'm going to pump the brakes on you for a
here's
second.
what
I
I
know
wanna
about
say.
a lot, a few.
But here's what I want to say.
Sure. Yeah.
I think the thing that held her back was there was always kind of a prickliness there
Yes.
that made it difficult for middle America to connect with her. Not to create
the
a break.
flyover states.
But there is. There's,
no.
There's
I
this
have no.
weird
It's not a middle America thing.
metropolitan kind of.
Sure, I can
chill
see
to her.
that. I could. She's a skinny blonde lady.
Uh-huh.
She's, like you said, she's always usually been cast in like the flirting with disaster role, which
Right.
is sort of like one of her early roles,
Yes.
right? As the kind of the business lady
She
in
can
the
be a
suit
little
with the
brittle, maybe.
yes,
Right.
and
Which
then
I like. I think she
Sure.
knows how to play brittle better
Well,
than most
she-
people and gets a lot of comedy
she's
out
the
of it.
love interest in Bad Boys, which she's good in. But
Right.
then, like, if you look at her, Deep Impact, she's a pain. She won't stop asking about this asteroid.
But she's good at her job.
She's good at her job, but like, take it easy, okay? He'll tell you about Ellie when he's good and ready.
Right.
Jurassic Park 3,
Yeah.
she's a fucking pain in the ass in that movie. And
Right.
she makes them go to the Dino Island to rescue their shit son. Sorry, I'm just mad at her character in
Family
that
Man.
movie.
Right.
Family Man, I have seen that. What is she? She's the wife. What does she do in that one?
Well, she's...
That's the one where he wakes up and he's not rich anymore. He's like a middle class guy.
Right, and everyone
Right.
thought that was going to be a big thing for her. Weirdly.
Didn't Brett Ratner direct?
Yeah, he did.
Really?
I'd
That was
seen
him
that
trying
movie.
to be like, I'm not just the Rush Hour guy.
Right.
Watch, I'm going to make like a humanist
yeah.
slice of life.
Right.
Is it literally
dramedy.
just that he wakes up in a normal family? Like, that's it?
No, the plot of the movie is that he had a great love when he was young,
right.
and he broke up with
It's
her.
like a sliding doors thing where it's
Right.
like, here's your life if you hadn't broken
It's
up
20
with
years
her.
later,
Right,
he's
right.
wildly successful, but his life
And
is
then
hollow, and he
Santa
breaks
falls
up.
off his roof.
No, you know who it is. It's Don Cheadle as a magical
Yes,
homeless
right.
man.
Don
that's
Cheadle
right.
is God, right? Like, or a sort of godlike
Angel,
figure.
He's more
Yeah,
of an angel
Okay,
figure,
fine,
but he's
fine.
got cut off fingerless gloves.
Yeah, he's like,
like a
oh, don't
ratty
mind me.
coat.
I'm just keeping warm over here. And
Yeah.
he's like, I'm ignoring you. And he's like,
my
oh,
great grandfather Bagger Vance used to say.
Yeah. But I remember there being a lot of hype for her in that where they were like, maybe this is the one that will make her like America's sweetheart. But I think there was that thing where she always knew how to play, and I use this word carefully, strident people very well.
Sure.
And she didn't try to make them likable. She played them realistically while bringing other movie star qualities to it. And I think a thing that always handicapped her was that she didn't care about being likable. And that made people have a hard time to
I think
separate.
didn't care. That's the bravery thing you're
Right.
talking about, right? Because in
Right.
Jurassic Park, she doesn't care about being likable.
But people have a hard time
in
separating.
House of D.
Yes. I find this character unlikable from I find this actor unlikable. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
think some people
Yeah.
got turned off by her because they were like,
Right.
oh, she's always so annoying. And it's like she plays annoying people very compellingly.
Well, right. I mean, because James L. Brooks wrote the character, and she saw it. She read the script, and she was like, "Okay, I'm going to do this." And she went full tilt
This
into
is
it.
my melancholia.
It's one of
Like,
the.
yeah.
It's one of the.
This is my Antichrist.
No, but it does feel like like one of those like I've been a big movie star. Now I'm going to work with like a gritty European auteur and scrub myself down and give like a very vulnerable performance. Except in this like bizarre fucking sitcom-y.
in which almost everyone else is this angelic,
Very
Right.
gentle.
like
Right.
like wise person, and she's the lone person in the movie, except for maybe Thomas Hayden
Yeah.
Church or whatever, who like is just this like black hole of awfulness,
Yeah.
and
who announces herself that
Discord.
way immediately. But I think it's like James L. Brooks is, working with him is a dream at
Yes.
this point. You
Yes.
know, I'll Do Anything wasn't a hit, but apart from that, it's like, it's
Yeah.
James L. Brooks. Of course you go work with James L. Brooks, right?
Taylor Leone had been on The Naked Truth for a few seasons, so she was not like Helen Hunt. She
Yeah.
had been on sitcoms in
True.
the '90s, and look what that did for Helen Hunt.
Yes.
So like clearly
Yep,
there
you're
was arithmetic to it that made sense.
And here's another thing. At this point, going into this movie, he has made 4 movies. Of
And
those 4 movies,
3 were Oscar-winning hits.
right?
Yeah.
3 of them got 3 different actors nominated.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Right. No, I'm saying I'll do anything fine, but
Right.
even if you're handed like a 400-page script and the whole script is just James L. Brooks being like, I feel so guilty that I
Yes.
hired a Mexican maid, blah blah blah, and you're like, well, he'll figure it out. He always figures it out, right? Like he
100%.
always sort of puts it together.
I think there's that kind of feeling. And then there's also like Taylor Leone, if she's there and she's trying to find her place to fit in Hollywood, it's like, who's the right director to work with? James L. Brooks.
Perfect.
Like, look at Shirley MacLaine in terms of endearment.
Absolutely.
If he can write that role for me, I'll finally connect.
And look at Holly Hunter.
Yeah,
Holly Hunter is a Téa Leoni of her day.
Difficult,
in a way.
messy characters.
Right,
you know,
yeah.
people who are in equal parts compelling and revolting, but ultimately, like...
So we have now discussed Téa Leoni more than anyone in the history of the planet, right?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've talked a lot about Téa Leoni in my life.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why we brought you here.
Yeah, so this is our new podcast. It's called Téa for Two.
Téa Leoni. After this, she was in Fun with Dick and Jane,
Téa
which
with
was a
Mussolini.
hit.
Huge
The
hit.
movie doesn't exist, but was a hit.
She did some movies after this, like
Well, she
Ghost
did
Town,
Ghost
which is
Town.
Super weird
underrated.
movie.
I think
Yeah.
it's a good
I like
movie.
Ghost
I
Town.
kind of like
It has one
yeah.
of the best like line pairing endings ever, where she's like, it hurts to smile because he's a dentist, and he's like, I can fix that for you, and then the movie ends. It's so good.
It's really nice. She's great in it. I think I honestly maybe gave her a Griffey nom that year.
Sure, yeah.
She's really fucking good in it. And then Tower Heist is the last movie she did, essentially.
Where she played Special Agent Claire Denham.
And I think she's very good in that.
And then she was nominated to be Secretary of State, a
Right,
position
she
she
was,
still holds in the Trump administration, which I don't understand.
Yeah,
But
Madam Secretary,
Yeah.
she's still serving. Bravely, Thursdays at 10.
But
Is
yeah,
that
so
right?
she did
Yeah,
work
it's sometime
and
at
is
10.
working. But like this movie was a disaster for her.
Right.
Is
The
I mean,
film parts become spread out
I mean,
post to
Fun
this,
with Dick
and then she
and
hasn't made a
Jane-
movie in 5 years.
Fun with Dick and Jane was a movie I think she shot either before or around the same time, because that was a movie that took a while to get to theaters.
That was also supposed to be Cameron Diaz, who
Right.
dropped out like 2 weeks before filming, and it was a big deal that it was like, it was going to be two massive A-list stars.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, like, Cameron Diaz is out. Who do you replace her with? Téa Leoni. Like, this is huge.
Sure. Yeah.
And I
then
even remember going
she
into
was also
like,
in Hollywood Ending, let's not forget.
right.
Oh God.
But I remember before this movie came out, when no one had seen it, but it was like James L. Brooks, he's been editing for a year,
Yeah,
never
well-
count him out. It was like, the hot tip we hear is that it's a real showcase for Téa Leoni. Look out, save a spot in Best Actress.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
It is a showcase.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
No, I remember hearing. Okay, so yes, I was a big Oscar watcher at the time. I'm
Yep.
sure you were
I think
in a way, Richard.
we all
Well, I was in college, and
Would you
I
say
was.
you were an Oscar peeper?
Yeah.
Oh, here it comes.
Because I know someone who was.
I was like, are you going to do it or not?
Producer Ben.
Hey,
Ben
I'm
Ducer.
here.
Purdue Ben.
Yes,
Poet Laureate.
I didn't really watch the
film critic.
Oscars in this time.
Uh-huh. Mr. Positive.
I still don't.
Mr. Positive.
Yeah.
Fuckmaster.
Hmm?
Meat Lover. Fart Detective.
Yeah.
Are you Professor Crispy?
No.
Can I wish you a hello, Fennel?
Sure, but do it on the street and then in the sheet. That's a whole other thing.
Okay.
You soaking wet?
Not
Oh my
currently.
God, it
Hold
keeps
on. Let me take
going.
a sip.
Okay.
Oh man! Wow. Yeah.
That's a loud sip.
So now you're wet inside?
Soaking.
Yeah. Of course, you graduated to certain titles over the course of different miniseries, such as Kylo Ben, Producer Ben Kenobi, Ben Night Shyamalan, Ben Sate, Say Anything, ... Ailey Benz with the $, Warhaz, Purdue Bane, and B19, the Fennel Maker, and RoboHaz. Oh, God.
Yes. Hey, you know what? Hot take, guys. I like this movie.
This is the biggest twist of the whole podcast.
Did you know this was coming? Did you have a spoiler?
I knew about this.
Wow.
I kind of like this movie. I think Tay is great. You know, I
Tay.
know people like
Tay's
this.
on days in this movie?
Tay. Spanglish. Tay's on day, Tay Diggs, and Tay Leoni. That's a hot take.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just got like 15 degrees warmer
It
in
did
here.
get actually really hot.
It did
No,
get really
I don't
hot.
know. I thought this was kind of fun. Maybe the scenes play out a little long.
A little? You think so?
Just a little.
Do you think there was maybe like not quite enough narrative tissue to this one?
No, there's not enough.
Oh, yeah, enough. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
but how often does a college admissions essay have a strong 3-act structure? You know?
It's true. What is this where they were like, all right, here she is. Okay, she wrote a college admissions essay. Do you think they were like, oh, so your mom's nice and these white women, these white people sound awful? That's the whole essay?
Tell me more about this sandwich.
How did you know all the private conversations that Téa Leoni had with her mother?
Yeah, that's
crying in
true.
her
She's
bedroom?
in the room like more than you see.
Yeah. She's peeping.
This essay has a lot of digressions about her grandmother's alcoholism.
And
Or
honestly,
not her grandmother, her
mother. But on the
mother's
page, her mom
boss
seems
is
fine.
right, yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, your mother's boss's mother.
Yeah. I mean, the first note I'd give is, stick to your thesis. This is about your mother's your hero. And
This salary negotiation scene is interesting, but I'm pretty sure you were at school when you wrote this down.
Old jazz crooner
And that was
trying to
when
kick
Frank
the bottle.
Bruni called my mother's boss, quite simply, the best chef in the world.
Yeah.
God.
Ben found this movie charming.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben's into it.
I honestly
He's got a big
enjoyed
smile.
it.
It's not a bit, guys.
No,
Ben
it's
liked
totally
this
not
movie.
a bit.
You were warmed by it? You ordered the Blu-ray?
I did.
How did you feel about the fact that it was 8 hours long?
Well, here's the thing. I felt like after watching it, I was like, that was a well-spent evening.
Sure. And then you looked outside and the sun was rising.
That was the thing about it. Yeah.
I watched it on a Sunday afternoon, and I just watched as it got darker and darker outside. I was like, this is so long. I started this at noon.
God, is it long?
Yeah.
Boy. So yes. Well, as I was saying, I was an Oscar watcher.
It felt like dinner theater for me because I ate while I was watching it.
Did you eat a sandwich?
Meals, right?
Yeah, a couple
Breakfast,
meals, right.
lunch, and dinner.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah, he made a stew while you ate.
You did the full Jimmy McMillan while watching this
Oh, my
movie.
coq au vin is done now.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
So, oh boy.
You were an Oscar watcher at the time.
Yeah,
I was as
and
well, but you were very big in
I was on the forums,
the message
right.
boards. You were riding the boards.
And it's like
Treading the boards, I should say.
Yeah, I was treading the board forums. And so like the hot movies of 2004, you had The Aviator, you had Ray, Finding
Sideways
Neverland.
was a critical darling.
You had Sideways, that's right, which I guess took the Spanglish slots.
Right.
And you had $1 Million Baby came in late and, stole a lot of thunder.
spoiler.
But everyone was like, well, keep some, room for Spanglish.
Yeah.
Like James L. Brooks made a movie. It's about
Cloris Leachman hasn't won in decades. This is going to be her comeback role. Like, people kept on tipping
and
it.
there was
Yeah.
definitely some talk of like Téa Leoni. There was also a lot of like Paz Vega. She's
course,
like the
yeah.
ingenue.
Yeah.
This is going to be like a supporting actress contender. And then it came out, and I mean, everyone was like, it actually got a SAG nomination. Cloris Leachman got a SAG nomination.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I feel like it got one other It got a Golden Globe nomination for Best Score.
Hans Zimmer?
Hans Zimmer.
Who's like weirdly one of James L. Brooks' closest collaborators, and
Sure.
on the Criterion Broadcast News is like so effusive in like 17 different talking head interviews talking about how he's like his favorite filmmaker.
Well,
his
the Blomp
closest
sound
relationship.
effect was originally in Terms of Endearment.
Yes,
Right?
correct. I just imagine
It also was nominated for 3 AARP movies for grown-ups awards.
this is a movie for grown-ups.
Best screenwriter, best actress, Cloris Leachman. That's right, actress. And AARP, she's an actress.
Did they watch a different cut than us?
And best intergenerational film.
Jesus
That's right.
Christ.
Do you want to know what won?
Yeah. That year, 2004. Wait, let me take a guess.
Imagine losing an AARP.
Okay, I gotta
Movies
say,
for grown-ups?
I gotta say, best intergenerational film. Here are the 5 nominees. This is a great lineup.
Okay.
Okay, the winner was Miracle, which is fine.
It's a fine movie. Kevin O'Connor.
I guess
yeah.
it's intergenerational because it's like he's the coach and they're the
Yeah, yeah.
Then Badass. Remember Badass by Melvin Van Peebles, Mario Van
Oh, yeah,
Peebles?
that's a great
Oh.
movie. Yeah.
Spanglish, Monsieur Ibrahim with fucking Omar Sharif. Remember
Yeah,
that movie?
yeah.
And then The 5 Obstructions, the Lars von Trier movie. Those are the 5 nominees. I think that's a great list.
So a Lars von Trier movie and Spanglish were nominated together
Correct.
for something.
Correct.
That's
Well, they
amazing.
originally thought Spanglish was one of the obstructions.
It was.
That was the confusion.
Lars von Trier watched it and he was like, oh God.
Can you imagine Thomas Hayden Church's agent calling up and going like, Tom, look, I know you rapped on that dumb fucking wine indie. I finally got you a shot at the Oscar. You're playing
You're going to back
the
a
real
car
estate agent.
onto a driveway, out of a driveway, onto the road.
That was like my favorite trailer bit of 2016 was after Moonlight had come out, anytime the Collateral Beauty trailer came on and had the moment where Naomi Harris delivers her big, like, but there is collateral beauty all around us if you just know where to look. I would turn to whoever I was with and go like, Naomi, I know you got that dumb fucking Moonlight thing out of your system, but it's time for you to get an Oscar nom. I got Collateral Beauty right here.
A movie I like.
I know.
never
You know
seen
what?
it.
I land closer to your take than most people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it a lot less than you do, but I think it is not on the Book of Henry scale of horrificness.
No, and I think it's trying to do something nice. It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
I mean, Spanglish is trying to do something nice as well, but it fails spectacularly.
I think the script for Collateral Beauty is kind of a nightmare, but I think it's kind of handsomely made, and it's got some good performances.
Beautifully filmed.
Frankel.
Yeah,
I think it's really well filmed. And everyone is pretty good in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't mind it. I mean, because it's a movie that's like easy to be like, it's stupid and make fun of it, but like
it's also got some fucked morality stretch.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Hold that thought. Ben, I want to talk about this new bedding that I've discovered.
What is it?
What is it? It's brooklinen.com. Brooklinen, like, bed sheets.
Oh, sure. I've seen these ads on the subway.
Well, I had to, actually. I actually even talked to people at Audio Boom where I was like, I like those Brooklinen ads. I want some Brooklinens.
They look cool.
Yeah. And, you spend a third of your life in your sheets,
Yeah.
It's time to, it's good idea to upgrade them. Get better sheets.
You're spending 8 hours a day.
At least.
Hello. Get some good sheets.
I prefer 10 personally.
Well,
Yeah, perfect world. So we've got this new sponsor, Brooklinen.com. They make the best, most comfortable sheets with no big markup, and they've got different like levels of comfort depending on what kind of sheets you like. They were founded in April 2014 by a husband and wife team, Vicky and Rich Fulop. And their philosophy is just the most beautiful, comfortable home essentials with no crazy prices.
I like that.
Yeah, they don't do markups. They don't do fees. They found out that like most bedding is marked up like 300%, and they just sort of did away with that. And they've like won the best online bedding category at Good Housekeeping. It's like fancy sheets, but it's not so expensive.
Also, I'm wondering, do they have versatile colors and patterns?
Ben,
Yeah.
I am so glad you asked that question.
What's up?
They have versatile colors and patterns.
Thank God.
Because, like, you can get your gray, your blues, your whites, your blacks, but, you want a stripe?
Yes.
A little saucy stripe?
Mhm. I want a pattern.
Maybe you want to mix things up?
Maybe I want a vaporwave sheet.
Sure. I think Vaporwave might be in, like, beta for them right now, the Vaporwave sheets.
Cool.
Maybe you want a solid flat sheet, but then, pattern on the duvet, whatever, man.
I like
They can mix and match. Anyway, my Brooklinen sheets, I got the Luxe brand personally. I consider myself a pretty Luxe guy.
Humble brag.
Are the best, most comfortable sheets that I've slept on. They, instant upgrade over the. Look, I'm not going to disparage, but like the crap I had before, and we have an exclusive offer for our listeners.
Oh shit.
Well, you'll get $20 off and free shipping if you use promo code CHECK at brooklinen.com. They're so confident that they offer a risk-free 60-night satisfaction guarantee and a lifetime warranty on all of their sheets and comforters. So if you want $20 off and free shipping, you use promo code CHECK at brooklinen.com. You got the promo code? Maybe I should give it to you one more time.
Well, I was wondering, how do I make a check sign?
Well, thank you for bringing this up. See, there was a sort of a lost expression in your eyes.
Yeah, no, I was like trying to think, is it command option 9?
No, you go to BROOKLINEN.com, promo code CHECK.
Oh, okay.
The word check, like in the title of our podcast.
I get it.
All right, so that's Brooklyn, and they're the best sheets ever.
So James L. Brooks.
In between, as good as it gets in Spanglish, he produces What About Joan and Riding Cars with Boys.
And he's doing a lot of The Simpsons.
I guess so. I don't know how involved he is with The Simpsons by that point.
I think
in
he's
the
still
late
very
90s.
hands-on the show. By all accounts.
Hands-on?
By all accounts,
All right.
yes. But let's
I don't
also...
think he's doing much. He also, of course, famously just takes a long time to write his movies. He really attacks them from like all angles.
7 years in between each film.
Pretty much.
And he also, at this point, Gracie Films has had a couple very successful graduates. But he is like, I want to nurture voices and let them direct their own scripts.
Like Yardley Smith?
Like Yardley Smith.
Great voice
Yes,
actress.
voices like Hank Azaria. No, you fool. Wes Anderson, Bottle Rocket, and Cameron Crowe with Say Anything. He's now had like a couple proteges who have gone on to by this point, like Wes Anderson's ascended, Cameron Crowe's
He also worked
ascended.
on, Jerry Maguire.
Right. So, As Good as It Gets was coming off of a flop. a film that had a very belabored production schedule. People weren't sure how it was going to turn out. And then it's a huge fucking success. Wins a bunch of Oscars. So everyone goes like, well, yeah, I mean, never bet against Brooks. Takes his time. He casts Sandler, one of the biggest leading men at this point in time.
Sure.
He had done Punch Drunk Love, right?
Yes, he cast him off of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He liked his performance in Punch Drunk Love.
But he was on a pretty solid run of Sandler comedies at this point in terms of box office.
In terms of box office, absolutely.
Yes.
In
And
terms of acclaim, no.
Didn't
he had
have that.
gotten one. He
Yeah,
done one prestige movie.
and he didn't have that kind of mean energy that he developed
Correct.
later. You know,
Yeah, sure.
and all that resentment people have about the shitty Netflix movies and like his weird thing and funny people. Like this is like he's still kind of beloved and
and the
cozy.
sense of him feeling lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the thing that Paul Thomas Anderson tapped into really well is the like central anger of Adam Sandler, which is the key to making him work.
Right.
It is,
And it's what Baumbach uses so well in Meyerowitz stories.
it's the juxtaposition between his sort of like bashful little boy, mumbly kind
Right.
of
And
like
then, like, with
puppy
this,
dog
like,
thing,
rage
and then this
churning
coiled
inside.
rage
Right, yeah.
inside.
And as Rain Over Me showed, it's best when it's on a Segway.
Yes.
It's best when playing PlayStation 2.
I think
Don Cheadle's in
shortly
that one,
after
too.
She is.
this point, Sandler crosses a threshold where he becomes a little too old for the man boy thing to be charming.
Well,
Just visually.
after this, the next year is The Longest Yard,
Right.
which, whatever, that's just sort of the
Whatever.
gimme,
Right.
sports.
Then he does Click.
Then he does Click, which is him being like, let me make another Big Daddy,
Trying
sort of
to-
heartstring
Right.
tugger.
And move into my 40s to try to,
Sure,
right.
sure. I'm about growing up. And
Right.
then he does the double whammy of Reign Over Me and I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry is a tough one to shake.
A film written by Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor.
Yeah. I mean, some version of that film was written by them, right?
They, I
Like-
believe, wrote the original
Right,
version,
right. And
which I've heard was good.
yeah, sure. I could buy that it was better.
Yeah, yes,
Of course, they shrunk someone in that movie.
they
though.
did.
Yeah.
It was.
They
I
kept
now
trying to work
pronounce you
that in.
tiny and little.
And then Zohan in 08. And
Which I
Bedtime
stand for.
Stories.
You know I stand
Zohan's
for
great.
Zohan.
Bedtime Stories is a
piece of shit.
disaster.
Are
Right.
Zohan's? I've seen it. What are its politics like?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird. I mean, weird.
I mean, its politics are nominally like, you know, that the peace is a good thing and everyone should just be friends. But
But he's like in Mossad in the movie,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
but-
what's interesting about Zohan is that the politics aren't good and they're not bad.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's like elements
It
of both.
feels
It's
like-
actually trying to tackle it. Like, it's not being
Like
glib.
a studio comedy about
Yeah.
No,
Israel is
it
kind
was
of
written
crazy.
by Apatow, Smigel, and Sandler. And I remember reading this long article in the Times about them being like, can you write funny jokes about the
And it was
Israel-Palestine
also
conflict?
like they tried to write it when Sandler first got big and had like his first couple big hits, and they were like,
Right.
"Great, here's our passion project," and they were like, "Go fuck yourself."
No.
It took like 10 more years
Here's
of
my
Sandler
passion project. Writes no
as an
on a piece
A-lister.
of paper.
Right, like it was like post Big Daddy they tried to make this,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then 10 years later, and then Apatow had become bigger. They finally like
Yeah.
got them.
It's just, it has a lot of weird, funny jokes. There's something, I haven't seen it in a long time, but
Yeah.
I remember, but then Bedtime Stories, Grown Ups, that's where he's really
Is
slipping
Bed-
into just like, I'll just do a movie.
Bedtime Stories is the one with Kerry Russell.
Yes,
Yes,
Okay.
and Russell Brand's in that
Correct.
one.
Who's the love interest in Click or the wife? in Click?
Beckinsale.
Beckinsale.
Oh God, that's right.
And then in Grown Ups, it's Hayek.
Right, Chuck and Larry. It's
And then
Beale.
in Just Go With It, it's like a sandwich of Nicole Kidman, Jennifer Aniston, and Brooklyn Decker or something, right? Like everyone's
Kidman
throwing
is a
themselves
rival for Aniston.
Okay.
Aniston's
Okay,
his
that's
fake
right.
wife because Decker's his real girlfriend, but he has to seem like he has a family in order to
Aniston
get
works
a
for him.
promotion.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
something like that.
Just go with it.
Just go
Yeah.
with it. That's the other thing. The movie's become like he's now insanely wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
He lives a very, very luxurious life, but is miserable,
Mm-hmm.
is mean to everyone around him, and dates beautiful, beautiful women who he resents.
You mean in his movies?
In the movies.
Right, yeah,
and then
yeah.
that becomes like Spanglish weirdly
But in the middle
is
of all that, he
beginning.
makes funny people, which is like this confessional,
This
like,
self-reflexive,
great movie.
right,
Yeah, right. Anyway, Sandler. He's a fascinating
Yeah,
career.
so this movie, like James L. Brooks, clearly sees the like Punch Drunk Love thing, where everyone sort of went like, "Oh, he clearly is like a good actor if you know how to use him,
Well,
if you
he's-
frame him in the right way."
He sees the Albert Brooks in him,
100%.
right?
Yes.
But
yes,
then what's
yes.
weird is he completely neuters him in this movie. He just wants to make him the shy puppy dog thing.
Mm-hmm.
He is so inoffensive in this movie. And it's so bizarre because Tay Leone is so strident and so unlikable.
Yes.
Yeah.
everything is her fault.
And so tone deaf and right.
And they try to make Sandler totally innocent.
But not only that, and he is. He's like a dumb little puppy.
To the extent that, I mean, I'm jumping ahead, but when, in the scene at the end at the restaurant between him and Paz Vega, when they finally express something about their emotions, you A, have no idea where they came from.
Right.
No,
and
none.
B, it's like two little kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're both so, I mean, she gets angry and he gets
they're
angry.
infantilized.
But like,
they
it's
are totally
weird.
He
infantilized
seems
by the script.
developmentally disabled in this movie because of the way the character is written.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
Look, I think there's some germ of an idea that he's like, it's like, oh, he's the good cop and she's the bad cop, right? Like, right. That is expressed at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But he, like you say, he wrote the Albert Brooks character in Broadcast News. Like, he knows how to find the interesting part of that character.
Yes.
Like the sort of hangdog, nice guy, you know.
But that's the
and then he
thing
just forgot to put it in this character.
Loses
No,
is
it's
that,
not
like,
there.
in Broadcast News, he makes Albert Brooks, who's the guy you want to root for, also a piece of shit.
Right.
And say a bunch of really awful stuff.
Right.
And he makes William Hurt, who's the guy who's a piece of shit who you want to root against, do a lot of very nice things.
Yeah,
Like,
but he
that's
doesn't, right. Yeah.
What he used
Everyone's,
to get.
complex.
Right. And in this movie, no one is complex. And you loved it. What are your thoughts? You're burning up on that mic.
I just wanted to say, I think Sandler's one of the great comic yellers.
Agreed.
And they don't use him
yelling.
at all.
No.
There's
No.
only a couple of moments, so I really agree. Like,
That's the moment you bottle the rage and then have it like burst out.
He didn't get to do anything in this movie.
No.
Again, I do like it though. I mean, it's just like his character. I didn't get it. I didn't get enough.
He just seems tired this whole movie.
Very tired.
Yeah.
And he even says at one point, like, can I just get, he just complains about everyone kind of bringing their shit to him and whatever. And it's like, do you just want to leave the movie?
Right.
Like,
I
are you
think he
just
does.
Well, and I'll say, like, a terrible movie that I think he's very good in, and you're probably about to get really angry at me, is Men, Women, and Children.
That's an awful movie.
It's an awful movie.
Fine. in
I think
it.
he's
Yes.
very good in it.
Very good is strong, but he's pretty good.
I'll stand for it. But
I dare you to watch that movie again.
I never will, but I really like his performance in it. But I think that's one where he doesn't ever blow up, but they use the fact that you can see the simmer underneath it.
Yeah.
Like on the surface, that performance, he also just seems like a totally zoned out, sort of like henpecked dude.
A lot of times when comedic actors go serious, they just turn off all affect and they're just like completely blank.
Right.
And I think he does that to some extent, but like at his best, there is a sort of fluidity. There is, dimension to it. But it's not always employed. It's kind of like how Mark Wahlberg can be great if he's in the right thing.
Yes.
But like if he's not, he's horrible. Like he's terrible in All the Money in the World.
He's terrible.
Well, we had a long talk about it.
We
The
did.
thing with Mark Wahlberg is he needs to play someone who has a chip on their shoulder. He needs to play a character that has something to prove.
Right.
If you put him in All the Money in the World and it's like, this guy's got it all figured out, trust him. He is so boring.
Yeah.
He's like a comedian going straight.
Yeah.
Where he loses all his energy.
Paz Vega. I don't
Paz
know.
Vega.
No. It's just every scene with Sandler is someone comes, like you say, someone comes to him and is like, blah, 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 like there's some conflict. And he's like,
okay,
what's going on? All right, it should be okay.
Which is where you kind of want to infer some autobiography on Brooks's part, right? Because
Yeah.
you're like, why else is this way? Like why is the movie so imbalanced between the two leads? I mean, I guess Paz Vega is ostensibly the third lead, right, of the movie. I mean,
Sure,
yeah,
she's the lead, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
But I mean, the
it's
movie,
a three-hander.
but she's so non-human in a way
Yes.
that like she doesn't even register as one of the main characters. I don't know, but like at the same time, I don't know, David, you and I were talking about like over text a little bit. Like, is this a movie about James L. Brooks trying to justify why he wants to fuck his maid? Like maybe that was it.
I don't know, maybe.
But like he wasn't really dealing with
I think it's a guilty movie.
It's a guilt. There's something guilty.
There's
I just don't know,
guilty.
but I don't mean like that he's guilty of a crime.
No.
Like, I think the movie
It's a white guilty movie.
is a white guilt movie about like
class guilt.
right, in a class guilt movie. But I can't believe that I employ these like human beings to do like bullshit in my house,
And
like
also-
when they're real people, and I need to acknowledge that.
I know that I'm in a bubble.
Right.
Yeah.
And
right.
rather than figure out how to break out of that bubble, I'm going to make a movie about being in the bubble.
Right, but
Right.
then the movie's just gonna feel like told from the most far away bubble possible. You know what I mean?
So like 2 years ago, I think my family and I went to a Thanksgiving dinner with my grandmother. Not to throw my grandmother under the bus, but I'm about to throw my grandmother under the bus because I kept on thinking about this while watching Spanglish. And there was like, we were in Tennessee where my fucking family goes for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a band playing music, right? There were a couple guys with like banjos and stuff. And she just turned to me and she went, I look at people like that and I wonder, who are they? What lives do they live? And I went, "He's probably a musician."
And then she went and wrote and directed Spanglish.
Right, like that's what this movie feels like.
James L. Brooks overheard that conversation.
He was, oh, fascinating.
Right, like he was like, "Oh, I just had a profound thought. My maid has a life.
Right.
My maid has
This is an
interiority
issue.
and agency."
You guys are missing the point. It's like a modern Dylan song. You know what
Please.
I mean? Or it's like
Expand on
a
that
Tom
thought.
Waits song or something. It's like over here you got the maid, she escaped from Mexico with her daughter. You got like the struggling housewife, maybe she's taking pills and stuff, Over here's the chef, he's accomplished, but he's trying to connect with his kids, he doesn't get along with his wife. Here's the fat girl, you know what I mean? It's like an ensemble.
I mean 5 stars. Best picture.
I have to apologize to Sony Pictures Home Entertainment because they're now going to have to reissue Spanglish with it's like a modern Tom Waits song as the pull
Well,
quote.
Scarlett Johansson's going
above
to
the
remake
title.
it. That's what's
Yes,
going to
yes. Jesus Christ. 3 comedy points. Yes, this movie just feels to me of that sort of bubbly, like faux empathy of like, look at me. I want you to know that I'm
Can you believe I
considering
figured this out? That's a
they
person.
have lives.
Yes, right.
Right.
Yeah. I think that there is something.
My grandmother's not a nice person.
Spanglish.
Yeah.
It's the most insane movie ever made. But there is something. There is a glimmer of an idea there that works, and I think that when he's trying to articulate, like, have you guys seen Dear Evan Hansen?
I have, yes. Have you?
Yes, I have.
I do not like that musical at all.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing it gets right is that awkward social tension of the kid wanting to spend more time at the friend's house because the parents are nicer to him
Yes.
or they have more shit or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a very familiar sort of like just, kind of hitty and just like social angst that people have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Spanglish does that really well in certain moments of like Tay Leone not realizing that like taking the girl out,
Right.
is a big deal, or just like the kind of casual approach to money where she's like $50 is a lot of money,
Yes.
And so I think if you get stuck
Those
on that
scenes are
tack-
decent little ideas, like little tiny stories
That's-
within.
I mean, the reason why we're covering James L. Brooks is that even when he whiffs, there are slivers that are so frustrating because you're like, you're onto something insightful. You can't figure out how to articulate it, and it's also buried in a pile of bullshit.
Yeah.
But I think like you look at Terms of Endearment, which has a very epic scope to it, but is a very focused story. It's just about the relationship between these two women with a lot of other characters coming in and out of their lives. Broadcast News is about the dynamic of the three of them, but it has so much going on.
Yeah.
And then he starts to go like, you've said the thing about how you think some performances ruin some actors.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cate Blanchett doing Streetcar Named Desire.
Oh, yeah.
On stage, she's never been able to totally drop
Right.
Blanche DuBois since then.
Sure.
And I feel like similarly Broadcast News ruined James L. Brooks in that he keeps on trying to be like, like the thing I did on Broadcast News.
Yeah,
Right, sure.
he becomes self-conscious.
I'm doing 1,000
Yeah.
plot lines.
Yeah.
I have 100 characters. I'm considering
Okay.
a bunch of different elements.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Broadcast News, right, has the advantage that it's set in a news station, right? It has whereas
A
like,
world he totally
and then,
understood and spent
things
the
just
time
get like
studying.
as good as
Yeah.
it gets. His whole pitch is like, what if a guy was an asshole? Like
Right.
that's his whole pitch for as
Which,
good as it
mind
gets.
you, good as it gets, he rewrote a pre-existing script.
Sure. Right. Yes. Yes.
It wasn't his idea.
and
that
I like
he
his.
had
I
formed.
rewatched As Good as It Gets over the holiday,
Yeah.
it's still a good movie. I like it, but
I'm
like,
half and half on it.
but
yeah.
but
Well, I mean, people will have
It's-
listened to our episode.
They will.
it's one of those things where it's like, well, no, the character is a racist,
Yes,
sexist,
right, yes,
homophobe.
yeah, yeah,
It's just
he
the
says
character.
a lot of shit.
But Brooks got away with it.
Mhm.
And so I think he was like, oh, so like I'm good. I've got it figured out.
Nicholson. Also, it helps
Yeah.
when you have a guy
Well,
who's
right.
proven like the audience follows him wherever
Right.
he goes.
So,
Yes.
so maybe
Yeah.
that kind of emboldened him to be like, okay, well, now I'm going to tackle this thing I see every day in LA.
Right,
Yeah,
but-
and it's like, no, but you didn't. But that's not
Right.
the same thing.
Right.
But I'm right. That's true. But also, as good as it gets, the pitch is the guy's an asshole. The Spanglish, the pitch is nothing. There's no pitch. This
No.
movie doesn't have a story at all.
And also, as you say, like the
Apart from it's a Tom Waits song, and now I understand that, and it is a Tom Waits song, and I think we need to
definitely
get that
a
on the
Tom Waits
record.
song.
But like the whole pitch of the movie is she moves to Malibu for 3 months with these people,
Right.
right? I guess, like,
Which is so
Right.
But,
But as you said, like the daughter angle is the most interesting angle to the movie.
Uh-huh.
It's weirdly the superstructure because of this fucking college essay and the narration, but so often she kind of gets lost within the main body of the film, other than as narration or like a bargaining chip between these people.
Sure.
And I also think that dynamic is interesting, but the way it's so often played is Tay Leone cannot stop buying stuff for this girl. Like
Yeah.
pathologically
well, that's the
cannot
way
stop
that she
purchasing.
expresses both love
Right.
and also criticism is
And that-
by buying stuff.
And that Las Vegas hates money. Like I'm saying, the reductive way it ends up coming across very often in the movie is just like Paz Vega throws money at the wall.
Yeah. Yes, it does
like,
happen
burns
2
every
times in a row.
gift. Right.
Okay, let's get into the story of Spanglish, which I just alleged does not exist. but-
Okay, so it starts with a envelope being opened in a college admissions boardroom.
I really wish that was like, I know it's not that far in the future because the girl's 12 years old, but it was like there were like jet packs and shit, like flying cars going by.
Yeah.
Like it was like Clifford,
Him and Jim should make a sci-fi movie.
Bicentennial Man is there reading essays.
Exactly. This is a good one. I know he doesn't talk like that.
Has there ever
She
been
did.
a good college admissions essay movie made? Because it's a weird.
Well, I know you want to talk about Admission now.
Well, and also
I think that's an underrated movie.
Me and Earl and the Dying Girl.
Oh God, that's right.
Which is the same movie where it's all the superstructure of here's how I learned from other people.
And I hate that structure where he's like, and when she died, I really learned a lot. Bates College, like whatever.
Yeah. I was very close to being the boy in Admission. And
Were you? I knew
I
that.
felt a real missed opportunity because I read that script and I was like, oh, fuck, this is going to be an Oscar player.
Oh, well,
And then
it
I
wasn't
didn't
that.
get
It comes
No,
out
it's
in
okay.
January.
Yeah,
No
it came
one
out in
knows that
January,
movie came
like
out.
18 months later.
Yeah.
But no, I think the device is unfair because the daughter isn't really a character. I mean, she is, but
Correct.
she's just kind of this thing. And
No,
and,
she's
a prop.
she's not really. She is played by Shelby Bruce.
And also, I know that like these are supposed to be complicated characters, and we'll get to it. But like the decision that Paz Vega's character makes at the end, vis-a-vis her schooling, and that to me, it's like no, just like this is not such a tribal ideology that like they will not let them do anything in this sort of white world or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
Right.
that is how James L. Brooks thinks of it,
Well,
because in the beginning of the movie
Yeah.
is what's the daughter's name? Christina.
Spanglish.
Yes, Christina Spanglish. As she tells her story, like her mother immigrated to America.
It's her hero. You have to write a college essay on your
she's writing
hero.
about her
Right.
hero.
Hero's
They
my
don't
mother.
stay in Texas because it's not Hispanic enough. They go to Los Angeles.
72% or whatever they say.
48. 72. I mean, that's
96?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
420.
Oh,
69.
come on.
I don't know.
Come on.
We're just saying numbers. And then apparently they live in Los Angeles in like the part where like no white person
They're
is
like
ever
living
visited.
on Oliver Street, basically.
Right,
Like,
they live in
yeah.
fucking Diagon Alley where you have to like tap on the right brick to enter. You know,
Right. And she's literally never. And then they say like
she doesn't
you know,
speak. This is why she doesn't speak English. I think this is James L.
Right.
Brooks's like
Right.
explanation.
But no matter, she learns it 3 days later. So
Yeah. Well, excuse me, IMDb trivia. Excuse me, the tape that Floor uses to learn English is a real tape.
Excuse me.
That's
Correction.
a piece. Floor. I'm terrible at rolling my R's. Which is bad
I was
'cause I'm
trying to do it. I
Jewish.
can't do it. Floor.
We're Jews. We should be able to do that.
We should be able to do that. Paz Vega spoke no English when she was cast in the film.
Right.
And they had a translator on set who had to translate between her and James L. Brooks for
That's
real
crazy.
on the set.
Wow.
Spanglish.
And she kept being like, "Okay." but
kept
And
being
every
like,
time they gave her a paycheck, she'd throw it back at James L. Brooks.
walk to the bus.
Yeah.
I can imagine James L. Brooks was like, "This is great. It's like Spanglish. It's the movie I
Right,
made."
so meta. You're in Los Angeles, which is 48%.
Hispanic.
Right.
I think you mean 115, but go on.
It's 187%. Why cast a Spanish from Spain actress in this role?
My guess is that this is just not something that pops into a casting agent's head at this time, right? I mean, it has to
I mean,
be.
they said there were three heavy contenders for the role.
Yeah.
There was Eva Mendes, who was
Okay.
big
Yes,
at this moment.
right, yes.
There was Eva Longoria, who was really popping at this moment.
Yeah.
Because we're
Well,
like
she was
season
Desperate
one.
Housewives is this year, so it
Correct.
had just started.
Right. So
yeah,
she
yeah.
was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Paz Vega had not done an American film,
Right.
but Sex and Lucia was like this big independent sort of thing.
Right.
And she was the surprise winner of the role, despite
right.
being the wrong ethnicity.
Right.
For the
Eva
film.
Longoria is the only one of the
That's the
actresses
thing.
we just named who's Mexican, because Eva Mendes is Cuban.
Oh, really?
And,
Okay.
Yes, and Paz Vega is Spanish, and she's...
Which and the thing
Yes.
about her being Spanish, like that's a racial. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to
not
break
only
it down
that,
in
it's
those
an
lines,
accent thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's European.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's
Right.
also, I mean, like, because she had been in Talk to Her. She's,
Yes.
the naked body that they in the weird short film part of that.
Uh-huh.
And she'd been
Is
in
it
this
Tay Leone had been?
Sandler.
Right. Sarah Steele.
And she's in Sex and Lucia, which was like this sort of like racy Spanish movie from
Right.
like 2000, which I remember like the fuss that one caused.
Everyone's uncle couldn't stop raving about it. Because it was like the movie that your older relatives would be
Right.
like, I usually take him to foreign films and he hates them, but he loved this one.
I thought it was well shot.
Right. It was the Rochelle of its year.
Right. It's a movie with like on-screen masturbation and stuff.
Sure, it's one of those, you know, but like this, Spain makes like 18 of those a year. I mean, you know, like
But this one popped. People like it.
but
got-
she
yeah.
like, and I remember Gael Garcia Bernal was in Bad Education, the one of our movie. Like maybe when is that? Is that
Same year, I think.
2003 or is it 2004?
I think it's 2004.
And like I remember the fuss people made because he's Mexican, and like where they were like, you know, I knew Spanish people who like he really nailed the accent, like it's so hard, and he really pulled it off. Like what an impressive achievement. I don't know how she's doing with her accent because again, I'm not. I don't have the ear for this.
Not Spanish
but
speakers.
Might not be very good.
Feels off to me.
I don't know.
It feels off. But
Yeah.
I can't
I
speak
have
from
no
any
idea.
place
I
of
don't know.
knowledge.
That said, I think she's good in the movie in
Yes,
as much as
she's
Yeah.
a very charismatic performer. Like,
Yeah.
I think she is good in the movie.
Her character just doesn't make any
I think
sense.
most of the actors in this movie are like in a vacuum kind of good,
Yeah.
but it's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't really endorse
Every
it.
single character is ill-conceived.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Or maybe it's more like a ballad.
So she moved to LA.
Is this your favorite movie we've ever covered on the podcast, Ben?
It's like top 10.
Top 10.
Hey, Ben should do a ranking someday.
Yeah.
So they moved to LA, but then why does she need?
They have two jobs
money.
that
She has
amount
two
to this
jobs.
amount.
they
Right.
set it up that
It's
she's
that boy
at,
puts a hand on Christina's
yeah,
ass.
she's at a dance or something,
Yes.
and she sees that, and she's like, "Oh, I can't work at night because if I do,
She's
you know,
gonna get in trouble.
Right. So she has to have a job that pays, you know,
At least $450.
Where she works during the day
a week.
rather than having to work
Right.
at night and can
Right.
be home with her.
So
Right.
she's super overprotective, and that, but so to be more protective, she decides to get a job all the way across the town.
Yes.
Right.
Like
Where she has to take a bus right to the other side of town.
Right.
She gets this job because her sister knows someone or her cousin
a
or
cousin,
something.
yeah.
You
right.
know, like
Who functions as a translator, which Taleone thinks that she's interviewing the cousin for the job until
and
she
that
realizes.
interview
yeah.
scene is one of the strangest things
So bizarre.
I've seen in a long time. It's so
that's so right.
Full
This is-
floppy hat, sunglasses.
And
This is where
this
it's
is
like
what-
the
this
movie
is-
is like
yeah.
getting injected into us, like you know,
Yeah.
like
Right.
real, like
Right, it turns into existence at this
Yeah,
point.
and
It's
you're
like
really-
a thing that's tapped into our spine
You're right.
that we're having to
right,
experience.
where we're like what? Like like contact lenses are being put on our eyes.
Right. It's a squid
Yeah.
at this point, right? This movie.
yes, exactly. And it's so unnerving because you're trying to figure out what Taleone's doing or who
Yes.
she's supposed to be.
Right.
And she just keeps kind of zigging and zagging. And you're like, what
And
is
then
the energy here?
simultaneously Leachman's zigging and zagging.
Right,
so you're
yes,
like,
yes,
which
yes.
one am I supposed to be watching? It's like
Yeah.
you're trying to beat
This
a
scene is
ball
like
and shell game.
furiously.
Yeah, exactly. It's 3-card Monty.
And you're like, which one should I be paying attention to? Someone's trying to con me here.
I just don't know who.
Someone's stealing my money.
Right.
But it's a very bizarre scene in which Taleone keeps on like saying kind of offensive things and then over-explaining her like shame over
Yeah.
what she said.
Oh, and they have the cousin inexplicably walk into a glass door.
They've never seen glass before.
Oh no, I
apparently.
forgot
Oh,
about
God,
that. Right,
that's
this
right.
kind of seals the interview right away. In fact,
Yes.
because
Right.
the first thing they do is walk into a glass door because it's too clean or whatever. I guess I don't. You know,
Right.
right.
And then Taleone tips her $20 for her.
Taleone
believe it's
gives
40.
her money.
She has a little pot.
She has a
full-
coffee cup
Just full of
with
is a coffee
$50,000
with
in
like
it. I
full
swear
of
to God.
$20 bills. And it's like, is that a thing?
I've never seen that before. I could imagine a coffee can with loose change in it, right?
Sure. Right.
But it's
A swear
like
jar,
it's
if
like
you-
a money clip of 20s are
Yeah.
in there. Like
Yeah.
it's like so much money.
And it's just like on the counter.
It's like something a drug dealer would have.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like my grandparents used to keep like an envelope of cash in their like underwear drawer for like, you know, emergencies.
Right, but they were like $2 bills. Like it was like,
exactly. Yeah.
I have 4 of them. Look,
So we have
he's out of print,
the
Ricky.
cousin's nose.
You know
is-
that, Ricky?
This is the thing about Spanglish. Every scene is like the Zapruder film where you want to like just like slow it down and
I
like
know.
frame by frame. So the cousin's nose is bleeding because she hit her face on the glass.
Right. Hot Vegas still
Taleone
silent at this
is
point.
monologuing about 3 things at once, including that she should have gotten stickers for the glass door.
And she says, "I'm not mad."
I'm not
as if
mad.
she would be
I'm
mad
not
that
mad,
the woman
which
walked
is like
into
her
door.
catchphrase. I think
Yeah.
that's what James L. Brooks like started with that and
Yeah.
built the whole character around it.
Don't at me, bro.
I'm not mad. And then she like throws money at her, and then she's like, I just did that. Was I supposed to do that? Why did I do that? She's like questioning her own
She's got no
madness.
internal monologue.
Right.
And then finally they sit down. She realizes she's interviewing this other woman who doesn't even speak English.
Yeah.
And a salary negotiation begins. And she asks for $1,000 a week, and everyone's quiet. And then they all start laughing. And then so now they've established
because that's the big thing.
the ceiling of the money she can ask for.
$50,000 a year for that job when it's 6 days a week and it's like morning till
and
night.
do whatever the fuck you want is
that's
reasonable.
Right.
100%.
Right. Is this movie set in 1979? Why is that unreasonable?
But also, Taleone makes her really uncomfortable talking about how beautiful she is.
Yes.
Oh, God.
How beautiful
yeah.
Pathé is.
Right.
And then the money thing is so how much do you want? And she's like,
whatever,
what
are you offering? And she's like, no. If you ask too little, I won't think anything of you. And if you ask too much, you're being arrogant.
No,
something
it's
like
about
that.
what she thinks of herself. She goes, this is a big
Right,
test.
yeah,
If you ask
right.
too little, I know you don't value yourself. And if you ask
Right.
for too much, I'll think you're arrogant.
Which
So
is
it's like, what
perverse.
the fuck are you? What sociological experiment
Yeah.
is this? So she throws out the 1,000, haha, oh, never mind, it was a joke. Quattro comedy points.
Right. And so they
Right.
settle on $650, which is about 30
Leachman
grand a year.
signals. So she signals to the
Yeah,
to this
right.
cousin what to ask
She goes
for.
6.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So then they feel really flush, and she takes her daughter
She's
out to
making
dinner.
$200 a week more than she was, I
Right.
guess. So she's happy.
Right. So she takes the daughter out to dinner at a restaurant. The daughter sits down, sees the prices. Oh, wow.
Puts the napkin over
Which
the
is kind of a
prices.
nice
I
little
think that's a cute
Yeah.
little
Brooks
thing.
moment.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
these
yeah.
moments where he gets at something.
And then these are these Brooks moments though, where then the waitress comes over and she's like, these guys want to buy you a drink, and it's 5 minutes of this.
Okay, so this is a scene I really want to talk about.
Okay. Sure.
Not for what
But
happens
it
in
is
it.
a Brooks scene, you know what I mean? Where
100%.
every screenwriter would tell you we don't need this. You can lift this out of the movie.
100%. That's why I want to talk
Right.
about the scene, because it's not. Ben's saying to stretch it out. This episode's running too short. This scene is somehow a perfect encapsulation of everything he's getting wrong in this movie as opposed to what he used to do right. What I find really interesting about Brooks is that he was a sitcom guy, but his sitcoms had this weird kitchen sink pathos to them.
Sure, definitely.
Like they were sitcoms about the types of people that usually weren't starring in sitcoms. There was a visual kind of griminess to them. There was a grittiness to them. It was people you weren't used to seeing star in TV shows. And there was a specificity and emotional and psychological messiness to it. But still, everyone goes, well, you can't make movies. It's sitcoms. It's dumb. It's broad. You won't know how to do it. And then he makes movies, and everyone goes, wow, look at him. He's a real filmmaker. There's a real humanism here. These films have a real look. They're not shitty, multi-camera sitcoms. And then, over the course of, I think as good as it gets is The Fulcrum Point.
Yeah.
Starts to look like a sitcom. The performances, despite being good, are more sitcom-y. And then you get to Spanglish and How Do You Know? And everyone is doing full multi-camera, broad mugging. Every moment has to be played as largely as possible.
Sure.
Nothing can be subtle. If there's a physical moment, it has to be an insert shot up close,
Right.
underlined.
Right.
And imagine watching an episode of a sitcom for 2.5 hours.
Right.
It's so exhausting.
And everything's so brightly lit,
Yeah.
regardless of whether they're indoors, outdoors, natural light, sunlight. Everything looks like an episode of Friends.
Yeah.
On fucking crack.
John Seal, baby.
So this, and he has good collaborators. And Hans Zimmer doing a score that's just infuriating.
It's an annoying score.
But you watch this scene where it's okay, he's trying to get at a certain subtle dynamic. Oh, we get to dine out, but my daughter's self-conscious at the price, so I want to block her from this. But the men here, and I want to shield her from this. But everything is cranked up to a 17.
Sure.
Until it feels like a fucking guitar solo rather than being a sort of a little ditty,
I don't know what. Yeah. I mean, sure. What's the point of that scene, Richard? He just talked for 15 minutes.
You think that what's gonna? I mean, maybe this is me just maybe it's
This
good
is
that
you.
he doesn't give you. Yeah.
This is
Oh, circus musical. But you think
Look off,
you
folks,
think
'cause here I come.
I hate that fucking song.
Hey, never enough.
No, never enough. I love.
Never enough.
From now on, we won't talk about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was another circus musical reference.
But you think that this scene is going to be they're rude to her, or they
Yes.
say you
Yes.
can't eat here, or whatever, which would be hack and stupid.
It would be hack and
but
stupid.
at least it fits into the context of the movie.
Right.
What is this doing?
Instead,
Reaffirming
it's
that she's
she passes the waitress's test because the waitress goes good, yes,
Right. But and it's okay, so it's proving that she's hot, great. But
Right.
I think that what it's really trying to do is set up this weird moralistic kind of conservative bent that she has.
Sure.
That's the whole weird thing about this character for me, is that he's trying to set her up as this woman of such unimpeachable values.
Yeah.
She knows what she believes in and what she will take a stand against, and she's trying to raise her daughter with very clear lines of who she needs to be. But instead, it mostly just comes off as she hates everything.
Yeah,
You know?
she's very reactionary,
Very.
like in general. Like
Right.
everything is sort of troubling.
Like, you don't really get the sense of positive lessons that she's teaching her daughter, just what she's telling her daughter
But
not
then,
to do.
None of it really makes sense because she takes this job that like is totally upending it. Now, obviously,
Right.
like there's this economic underpinning to
Right.
it. So fine. I mean, that's more than enough justification for her to take the damn job. But like, it's weird how bewildered she is by everything. Like, she's never encountered like rich people before.
Well, it's
and,
like she
that
walked
they're
out of the
assholes,
like
you
it's
know?
just like some like the early 1900s. Like her value system is so she's just horrified by America, and she's supposed to have lived there for however
That's
many
the thing.
years.
Like, this
And,
movie is
Yes.
like, it's not even like a fish
It's
out
James
of
L.
water
Brooks being like,
comedy.
well, you know, like, you know,
Right.
their culture is more traditional. Like, it's like, right, he has
it's
everything
so
is there.
condescending.
But,
It is,
that's the thing,
yeah.
and it's so extreme that's not, it doesn't play as a fish out of water comedy. It plays like Enchanted, where it's like
Right,
she
yes,
comes from a different
yes.
dimension.
Yeah, she looks
Right.
like Taylor Leone, like she's a fucking
it's
like
basically
mouse
like-
doing like.
It's basically like he just said something and then wrote dash African proverb. You know, because it's so like noveltizing of like
So-
actual people.
Yes.
I don't know.
So
I wonder what kind of person that is.
Yeah, well, it's
Right.
Yeah.
here's my impression of Spanglish shoe, because I feel like the first half hour it's like jam
Do
packed.
your impression
with
of
events.
Spanglish.
I don't know. No, the first
pretty-
half
that's pretty
hour
good,
is like
actually.
so much shit, and then I feel like the movie just kind of like dies. Taylor Leone leaves the movie because she starts having an affair.
Right, and just disappears. Her
And
and,
then,
Adam
like,
Sandler
nothing
have 3
happens.
scenes together
Yes.
the entire
Also,
movie.
is that how affairs work? That you just leave the house fully visible to your mother and daughter
Correct.
at
Absolutely.
nighttime?
Yeah, no. Thomas Hayden Church
You're
picks
just like,
you
I
up.
have to go to a place now.
Where are you going? I'll see you later.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And so, but in this first half hour, like Brooks is ladling on all this info about everyone, right? So, like, we got Cloris Leachman drinking from her like goblets.
Who used to be like an old standards crooner.
Yeah, she's I don't know, she's
Drunk.
Barbara Cook or something, but like lit all the time.
You know who it was meant to be, right?
it was meant to be
Bancroft,
Anne Bancroft, the actress,
who then got ill, and Cloris Leachman jumped in late. It definitely feels like it was written for Anne Bancroft.
It feels like it was written for a very a classy sort of like husky voice broad.
And Anne
But
Bancroft
Taylor
has-
Leone is way more plausible as Cloris Leachman's daughter.
Agreed. But Anne Bancroft as a character type was very good at that sort of like affected Jewish impression of waspiness.
You're just thinking of The Graduate.
I think that was a lot of her, yes.
Sure.
Also her vibe, you know. The Jewish wasp is a very specific type of person, and the person who regales you with their greatness and all of that sort of stuff.
She hadn't done a movie since Heartbreakers.
And she's good in Heartbreakers.
You know, I never saw her.
Heartbreakers is underrated.
Well, I was going to go see it, the Holloway Odeon in London. And
Where?
Why would you see it in London?
London.
What were you doing there?
Were you on vacation or something?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? And they
Weird.
Well,
they
it's
canceled.
continental over here. I don't know.
They canceled the screening. The projector broke,
Really?
so that's why I never saw Heartbreakers.
I think I saw that movie twice in theater.
And your heart was broken,
exactly.
and you
forever.
walked home in the rain with the double-decker buses splashing you.
And I said, I'll never see
Yeah.
a David Merkin joint again. That's right. I know who the director of Heartbreakers is.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
Okay. Get the door, Griff.
Let me get the door.
Which member of the Mario family is this?
Hey.
Yeah, no, sure.
Hey.
Hey, hi.
How's it going? It's a me, Mario.
Hey, you sound a little different in real life.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on, that's an offensive stereotype. Who would talk like that in real life?
Luigi, who was just here a little while ago.
He was doing that thing? Okay.
Yeah.
That guy does not know how to turn it off. See, I'm a clock in, clock out kind of guy, you know?
So, and you're saying right now you have clocked out.
I've clocked out. I mean, I will not fix a single pipe right now, you know, and I'm going to talk like a real person.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I don't feel like you fix a lot of pipes.
Well, look, I don't come to where you work and slap the pipe out of your hand.
Well, you mostly like squash like mushroom beings and stuff.
Yeah, after going down a pipe, I don't understand. What,
All right.
I don't
Like,
complete.
I'm not
I
here to
fix
split
pipes
hairs.
my way. I crouch down. I go
Sure.
into them,
Right.
and then I stomp on some Koopas.
Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. What are
Do
you doing
you
here?
like having Koopas? Well, I'm in a bit of a jam. I got to be honest with you folks.
Benny's in a jam.
What's up, Mario?
Sorry. I just liked you sincerely asking that question.
I got some Wii games that I'm trying to rip and send to some people. I need a Wii transfer.
Okay.
Well,
David.
I don't know that the Mario family is ever fully understood. And just before I describe
loop my
Wii
brother
transfer
into
to
it.
you,
We're very different
That's
people.
fine. I just have
Okay.
one question.
Yeah.
Your last name's definitely Mario?
Yeah, my name's Mario Mario. Come on.
I just want to get that on the record. Anyway, we transfer.
Is your last name really Sims?
As far as I know.
Yeah, okay, well, it sounds like a fake name.
We transfer is all about making creative process easier for everyone.
Oh.
They build their site to be the simplest way to share big files around the world for free. There's no sign-in, no offer codes, no password to forget.
God, I hate signing in.
You just upload, send, and get back to making what you make. It's like getting on a pipe and just crouching.
Right, you just take your Super Smash Brothers Melee. Was that the one for that system?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
40 million people use WeTransfer to send and receive files every month, and since day one, they've devoted 30% of their ad space to showcasing creative people around the world, from musicians to photographers to illustrators to plumbers to podcasters like us.
Yeah, they're probably, my brother's SoundCloud rap. Did he talk about that?
Did he bring that up, Ben? I can't remember.
Yeah, he did.
Okay,
it is not good.
Okay, well, in that spirit, we're going to skip the rest of the 60-second ad and get right back into the podcast.
That's nice.
WeTransfer.com. You make WeTransfer.
It's almost like this ad copy just ate a mushroom or a shining star that allows it to speed up. Do you know what I'm saying?
Why don't you speed up on out of here, Mario?
Okay.
No, but then you've also got Sandler, who's like, there's these scenes where he's stressing out that he's going to get a good review in the New York Times in his kitchen.
And it's supposed to prove how
like noble
he is, and he just really wants like the simple life, and it's like, but then you see the fucking restaurant, and it's like Versailles, it's like all like fancy and done up,
it's
and
the
it's
restaurant from Chef. It's the same fucking
It's
place.
not homey at all.
And
It's like,
and who's his top chef in the kitchen?
Okay, so I want to talk about this.
Phil Rosenthal, co-creator of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Everybody Loves Raymond's creator is the sous chef, right? The number 2 guy.
Yeah.
Then who's the girl?
I don't know. Who is it?
No, you remember how there's
Martha
this
Kaufman, co-creator of
remember
Friends.
how there's this female chef in all those scenes who's sort of like, I agree,
right?
And you're like,
it seems
is this
like she's in love
character
with
gonna
him.
like have an arc or something?
She's from Home Alone, right?
Is she in Home Alone? I know her from Jerry Maguire, in which she is the one who's crying on the phone, going like, I hate that they did this to you, Jerry, and then like takes the other call and is like,
hello,
she's
the gymnast.
Yes. But is she also in? I want to look her up now.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
Wait, what did you? Oh, she's in Home Alone. You're saying?
I think she's one of the siblings, or one of the. I think she's the one who says les incompetents.
Les incompetents.
It definitely feels in this movie like they're setting her up to be the protege who is in love with her mentor, and then she just disappears.
Vanishes. She is in Home Alone. You are correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
5
you.
Home Alone points.
I am not les incompetents.
Hey.
I disagree.
Wow. Feud?
With what?
Feud, Richard and Benny?
Well, no, I was saying about the kitchen dynamic. They're showing that she looks up to this chef.
Right, yes.
It has nothing to do with romance. I mean, I've worked in many kitchens, and you always have sort of like the number 2 who is like always looking to surpass the head chef.
Sure.
And then this is the young, hungry, just wants to be in his position.
Fucking Kitchen Confidential
Ben,
over here.
I've never loved you more than I do now.
So I see it totally different, but it's probably because I've worked in restaurants.
No, you are owning me on this one. You have the fucking experience.
God, he's got no reservations.
No, yeah, look at this guy. It's a big night for Benny.
You just got burnt.
Ratatouille. I don't know.
And now we've named all 5.
Oh boy. Anyway, that's it. We're done.
No, the thing about the restaurant, what was I going to say? Oh, I feel like Brooks is almost trying to like, wouldn't it be interesting to make a movie about the burden of being successful? Yeah. If someone calls you a genius, then it becomes difficult to do the thing you were first good at, which I think certainly is something that affected James L. Brooks' creativity. Yeah. But he does not figure out how to attack this with any sort of insight.
Right.
It's a movie that just feels like, why is this guy so upset about getting a great review?
But maybe that's what James L. Brooks is like, and that's what he's pouring into this.
Like.
Yeah.
Also, if you're gonna like, I mean,
Ben is so frustrated.
No, please, Richard, I don't mean to cut you off.
If you're gonna obviously in certain examples, Studio 60 and the Sunset Strip comes to mind. Never show the comedy. If it's supposed to be good comedy, don't show it because it's going to be bad.
Totally true.
But in
true.
this instance, it's like, well, if he's the best chef in the country, could we know a little bit more about the food and have a little more context? Well, the sandwich is amazing.
Right, which was made by someone who works at the, what's it called, the laundry.
French Laundry?
French Laundry, that's
interesting.
So obviously, like, because the sandwich is like fourth build in the movie, I think, right? I mean, the sandwich is like a big part of this movie.
And there was Oscar buzz for the sandwich.
There was,
for
best
supporting.
sandwich. Yeah. But then you see
sandwich.
him make like lamb chops one time and it looks fine. I mean...
Yeah, it looks totally basic.
Right,
but you look
the
at a
plating
movie.
stuff, that sequence, or at least when he's talking about it, that's all pretty legit.
That's true. I just wish we'd seen more in the restaurant.
It is also weird, like, and, broadcast news sets an unfortunate standard, but, like, here's a movie about people who are all consumed by their career, by their chosen field, by their form, all this sort of stuff. And then, like, this and How Do You Know have people who are, like, very obsessed with their work, and you get no sense of their relationship to the work.
Right.
They just complain about stuff.
And Taylor Leone's character is completely unmoored because we find out in that first scene that she like recently lost her job, but she was a designer or something.
Yes, that like they bought the company and she's like, she seems to be like rich but aimless. Like,
and she's like, I'm not good at being like a stay-at-home parent. It's like, well, then go get a fucking job.
Fucking chill out.
I have a huge question, and Ben, you might be the one to answer this.
Okay.
Because this is a plot thread that's totally dropped. Mm-hmm. Unless it's just supposed to be like representational and you don't need to know it's a MacGuffin.
Right.
What's the fucking thing that they're mad at the son about?
Oh, they don't bring that up, do they?
Right, because the beginning of the movie, Adam Sandler doesn't enter until 15 minutes.
The son who is like, holy shit, that kid's got a face.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
Ian Hyland is his name.
But that's the opening of the movie is like, okay, time to start considering waking up. And then he says, Dad, are you mad at me? And he goes, no, of course not. And then Taylor has a breakdown about the fact that they're messaging two different things.
Right. Good cop.
Bad cop. Tries to cup her breast, wrong breast.
Oh, God.
That's a wild scene. That's another thing.
Scene.
The sexuality in the movie is...
We're getting to that.
Yeah.
Oh,
this movie has, honestly... the most upsetting sex scene I've ever seen in a film.
Right, yes. Yeah. It was choreographed by Von Trier.
It was.
Yeah.
Like
but
that anyone talks about the showgirl sex scene but doesn't talk about this is...
They never talk about what the son did, right?
No, they don't. I think it's just innocuous.
Yeah.
I think it's just he's a kid and he acted out.
It just feels like it's a big enough thing for them to have that much of a fight over it. It's weird for them not to be like, we can't let him slip by cheating on a test. Like, whatever.
Right. Yeah, right. They don't, it's true. They don't mention it.
Yeah. And then the boy just disappears for most of the movie.
He's not in the movie.
Right.
And so I was going to say, right, the other thing that happens in this, apart from the things we all discussed, is that Téa Leoni buys some clothes for her daughter. Her daughter is named Bernice, played by Sarah Steele, the best performance in the movie. By
well, Sarah Steele is a great actress. She does a lot of theater now. She's in the Humans.
Saw her in those Humans.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Margaret, I resaw Margaret recently.
Yes.
Trained it. She's very good in that.
She was on The Good Wife for many years, and now she's on The Good Fight.
And is, by all accounts, a very good person.
She's awesome.
Been entering her third decade of playing teenagers because she's one of those
good
actors.
Me and Esther long ago agreed that she would be the star of Esther, the Esther Zuckerman story.
Good call. Good call. That's part of, we can announce Blank Check Pictures, our slate where we're going to develop films based off of our favorite friends and guests, right?
So she buys her these clothes.
I want to be played by Téa Leoni.
Done.
Right.
Please.
Don't worry. The contract's already been drawn up.
Oh, okay.
No, she buys her these clothes, and the clothes are too small for her, I guess. They're size 8, right?
Right.
And Téa Leoni...
She sees the number, immediately knows what her mom's doing, and gets uncomfortable, sad.
It's this, I think, genuinely devastating scene. I think it's pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also like that's pitched it like that. I get that's like Téa Leoni being a realistic monster.
Yes,
she's like, well, I mean, it's a goal. Like,
and
they're like,
she said she went
clothes.
to essentially what was like a sample sale, and so she's like, well, they only had this.
They only had 8 or 10, and I'm not going to get you the bigger one, right? Like something like
we're
that.
Encouraging that,
right.
But like the way that Sarah Steele especially pitches that kind of that realization of like, oh my god, this like nice moment like just became horrible is I think so good.
So good. And then Adam Sandler explains all of that.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And Paz Vega is like horrified.
She's just sort of standing there in this sort of
it's not entirely clear how she would know exactly what was going on.
Takes it home, stays up all night.
Yeah.
Like restitching these clothes so that they're opened up a size.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And then learns from her daughter the phrase, just try it on.
Yeah.
Right. Spends the rest of the evening practicing that one line.
Right. This is the only time we ever see her interacting with the family. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the only time Paz Vega really, like, does
feels
a
like
thing.
A human being, yes.
Yeah, like, apart from that, we don't really see her working that much. She's sort of just around. whatever.
Right,
She's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
there's like a thing with the dog where you can't like play fetch with the dog.
Which is probably almost definitely something just from his life. That he was, like,
exactly
just threw
right.
in there.
But
Yeah.
like we don't like. I think I thought, oh, okay, well, the spine of the movie will be this. It's like Paz Vega like comes into this neurotic family's life and tries to sort of like
Right.
help them out.
She's Mary Poppins.
Right, but instead it's like that happens and then that's that. It doesn't
Well, and
come up
here's,
again.
here's another thing.
Because Téa Leoni immediately just vanishes from
Yes.
the movie pretty
Well,
much.
Brooks also seems a little bit scared to actually show her doing work in the house, like domestic work.
Sure.
You know?
And I'll say the one time you do see her doing work is kind of like a brutal shot where like her daughter is hanging out with the family
And she's-
and
yeah.
looking over her shoulder and her mother's like picking up clothes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes. There is that thing. It's Mudbound, right?
Yeah,
that I
I
think
missed.
gets at this,
Mudbound?
right?
Sure. Well, I don't know what you're talking
Am
about.
I wrong about this? That there's the moment where Mary J. Blige in like the narration has the monologue about her mother working as a domestic when she was growing up and not
Right.
being present. Am I conflating this with something else?
Yes, this is Mudbound.
This is
You're talking
Mudbound.
about Mudbound.
Right.
This
The-
is us.
The notion that like growing up,
Different thing. I don't know.
growing
me alone.
being angry at your mother for spending all her time with a different family,
Yeah.
resenting that, and then growing older and coming to realize, oh, she had to be that connected to those children in order to make the money to support me.
I mean, something Tony Kushner wrote about with Caroline Exchange. I mean, from the opposite perspective.
There
but,
is a
like,
dynamic there that
yeah.
is interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
And especially if
Yeah.
you add on the other level of, oh, and weirdly, the mother of this family is taking a liking to the daughter.
Yeah.
And this sort of like two mothers who are forming relationships with each other's daughters.
Right.
That tension is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
This moment with her doing the thing with the outfit, like that all builds in that, and then it just sort of like
And then that's it. It's like the next thing is Adam Sandler getting a good review. I
And
think.
it quickly gets to a point where Téa Leoni resents her presence in the house.
yeah.
Paz Vega hates. I don't know any of these characters' names, by the way.
No,
Floor.
Paz
I know
Vegas Floor.
Yeah,
Right.
Floor.
Téa Leoni is Deborah Klasky. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Okay. But like, and it's like, oh, well, why is this still happening? And why then?
Yeah.
After
Right.
it's already been kind of awkward. Why are we now going to Malibu?
Right, because
And
they have to
having
get a
kid?
summer house. It's priority. We got to have a summer house.
They've already had one blow up. Oh, right. Well, I think it's all in Malibu.
Is it all in Malibu?
Because before they go to Malibu, Adam Sandler, John is his character's name, gets the good review.
He's
And
miserable.
Sarah Steele reads it to him while crying because everyone in this movie has cried like
Yeah.
after 20 minutes of running time.
Yeah.
And then Téa Leoni has sex with Adam Sandler. They're both clothed.
A harrowing scene.
This is a very strange thing. Because,
She's wearing a sports bra and running shoes.
Sure.
Sarah Steele, which like she's good in the scene, but like, what kid is doing that for their parents?
I have
So
no
weird.
idea.
She's
It
a
is
teenager.
weird.
She's not supposed to be like anyway.
Yeah.
But she's like, I wonder what mom's gonna say. And then we cut to Téa Leoni running up the stairs in her jogging stuff, and she's like, I read it, and then she immediately like they start doing it.
It's
and
an aphrodisiac.
It's the middle of the day.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
the daughter like out on the stairwell? Like
This is a
what,
good
I don't know
question.
what's going
Yeah.
on, and it's so
They-
loud.
Yes, it is loud.
yes.
I mean, it's scarring for these children. I think that's why the little boy leaves. I mean, he just
Yeah,
gets
he-
keeps
yeah.
a little bindle and just runs off into Bel Air.
She has this very bizarre series of like, I don't even know how to fucking describe this. She's on top of him and she starts just doing shit.
Right.
She's just like,
rubbing.
yeah.
And you can't figure out if it's like, is what they're trying to play that she's being too performative or that she is actually this into it? And then she sort of breaks down
Also,
crying.
are they having sex?
Yeah.
Or are they just dry humping?
No, I think they're supposed to be having
It looks
sex.
because of how they're dressed and how they're
Right,
blocked.
it's one of those like sex scenes where no one actually like takes all their clothes off.
She's wearing running shoes.
on screen. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like they just kind of like, and like the whole time Adam Sandler's going like, "Ha, wow!"
He, like,
I don't even need to do anything. You're
slaps
doing all
her-
the work.
He slaps her stomach and he's like, mother of
yeah.
two or whatever.
I
you know,
can't believe it.
Yeah.
Right. And then she like is doing this and then she starts to get uncomfortable and then you can't tell what's going on and you're like, is she having a breakdown? And then she comes? Is that what we're
Well,
supposed
yeah,
to take
because
away
she does
from
this
it?
series of
has-
facial contortions.
Right.
And rewatching it, I was like, that moment where she's doing that and you just see all this work and you're like, oh, Téa. That's when I was like, this performance is like, I feel so bad for her because
Cut your losses.
she threw,
Don't give him this much.
Right, exactly.
Right,
Don't
exactly.
give him this
It's true.
footage.
It's too much.
And
yeah.
you can almost see her realizing like, I'm going to do it, but I, like
She's like too much of a pro.
when I used to audition
Yeah.
for plays when I was in like high school and college and I was not a good actor.
And you would always choose this as your monologue.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The sex scene from
I would
Spanglish.
actually just do the whole movie. That's why I
Which is
never
why you didn't get the
yeah,
part.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
a 2 hour and 45 minute
I
audition.
would look up and the room would be dark and everyone was gone. But I remember one in particular where I really wanted this part, and I went in. I just went so full tilt.
Yeah.
And I knew 30, not even 30 seconds in, I was like, "Oh, this is going very badly."
Right.
Yeah.
But like, I can't,
This was a mistake.
but I can't
But you
stop
can't throttle
now.
Made my
back. Yes.
best.
And I feel like
Yes.
there is a moment when she's in that orgasming scene, or the sequence of
Yeah.
O faces, where you're just like, "Oh, you can see it." She doesn't. She knows it's bad. She knows it's bad, but she's.
And she just had to do so many takes. That's
I
everything
know.
you have to think about.
Yeah.
Like, he's meticulous. He's known for doing like 100 takes of shit.
And
They
she
just
just
do
did it
different
over.
angles over and over again. And then Sandler just kind of gets frustrated. He's like, oh, no, don't stop. Ah, come on.
Well, isn't the idea though that she's selfish and that
Yeah.
she
Because
only wants to
she-
get off herself?
It's
and
the
she
first
doesn't
sex scene
consider
where like
him?
the woman comes and the man doesn't,
Within
and the man is
45
annoyed about it.
seconds.
Yeah,
Right,
well, it
yeah.
happens fast.
But also, like, I don't have sex with women, but like, what?
Humble brag.
Hey,
Hey!
hey,
Hashtag the two
But like,
friends.
isn't
yeah,
the whole thing
2018, baby.
that like she could keep going?
Ben, we blew up the levels. Yes, she could. Well,
Yes. she could.
I don't know.
yes.
But anyway, it doesn't
yes.
matter because then she starts crying.
Griffin just went on a whole journey.
I don't
over
know.
there.
I'm going through my own Taleone
Griffin's like-
series of facial
Griffin's like,
contortions.
what
over
if they
here.
told me?
Yeah, wait a second.
I thought the crying thing was funny. I thought that was a funny bit. I swear to you, I laughed at that. I thought that was funny.
Did you watch this movie with Molly?
I did.
Did she like it?
She loves this movie.
Really?
Spanglish.
Yes, my girlfriend loves this
The
movie.
great Molly gave.
I have this vision of Ben watching Spanglish while doing the Nelson Muntz in Branson. Like when they go, who are they singing? It's not Neil Diamond, but like
Some
it's,
some
yeah,
bumper
he's just
chop,
like
kind
so
of
rapt.
music. Yes, yes.
That's Ben watching that movie.
No, who is it? Is it Hank Williams Jr.? I think.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
seen Moonraker.
In
That's what
Branson.
it is. He goes, bam, second encore.
Bam, second
Yeah,
encore.
Yeah.
That is such a funny Simpsons scene.
Oh, it's so good.
Even Martin's not into
Yeah.
it.
James L. Brooks wrote that scene.
Did he?
No. You know what I did find out he wrote? He did write You Are Lisa Simpson.
Right. Well, that's what I associated with him.
Yeah.
Is the second season the more emotional,
Right.
sort of
The
character
Lisa
focused.
episodes
Yes, yes.
feel
But
the
I
most
don't know if like by
Brooksy.
season 10 he's still like, hey guys, like I got some notes. Like
The Sun Sphere is full of wigs.
good gag.
It's great.
They tell a story on the fucking like James L. Brooks American Master-esque
Sure.
documentary they have on the Broadcast News Criterion about like being in the writers' room and being like, Mr. Bergstrom has to hand Lisa something profound. Like, what is it? And they were all like drafting things. And that James L. Brooks literally wrote down, You Are Lisa Simpson, folded up, put it on a piece of paper.
Amazing.
And rather than say it out loud, pitch it to them as like the full
Sure,
experience.
sure,
and they
sure.
were like, that's why he's James L. Brooks.
He's brilliant. Or
Well,
was. Yeah,
perhaps.
something
Yeah.
happened. So then they moved to Malibu.
For this.
The sex is terrible, and yet we still have not gotten to really any articulation of what is wrong with the marriage in specific. Or
No,
have
it's never
three
specifically.
scenes together.
It's
Yeah.
never specifically articulated. Apart from that, she seems to be in the grip of a nervous breakdown, and he's a
Right.
total
Yeah.
wet blanket. Right?
Right.
Like it's like
Right.
there's nothing more to it than
Right.
that.
But almost immediately after their sex, he's freaking out about the review, and she's like, "Oh fuck!" But I gotta go look at summer houses.
Right.
She's just been so turned on by him, even though she's frustrated by him
Right.
being too beloved by their children, and then goes and meets up with Thomas Hayden Church, backing in on that Oscar nomination.
Thomas Hayden Church, who filmed this before, he executes a reverse around a corner into where I'm like, it's one of those shots where you're like, a car accident's about to happen.
Yeah.
Like this is such a complicated driving move that we have to be seeing
It's
this
like
for some reason. We're not seeing
Right.
it for
The
any
horrible
reason.
car accident in Adaptation when it's the flashback.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're seeing it for a reason because
they're
the characterization is this guy's a master of cars.
Yeah.
Because she's sitting in the front seat and her hair's blowing in her face, and she goes, "I
God.
guess I'm never going to be one of those girls
Yeah,
whose
yeah.
hair looks perfect in a Corvette." And he does like jujitsu.
Yeah, he
Right.
does
Like,
like
he-
some
windows.
the
window thing.
windows, and then put your seat back.
And then her hair is like
That scene is
fully
bizarre.
like
Right.
just
And
like-
then she
Can you
looks at him.
imagine
Yeah,
the
I'm
wind
doing
guys
this
like
thing.
have to like? Oh god.
She looks at him and goes like, "Oh, you're trouble." And you're like, "Oh boy, what are they teeing up here?" Then they don't talk about it again for 90 minutes until
Right.
she reveals that they've been fucking for those 90 minutes,
right,
and that's why
and
she's
only
been absent
Cloris
from the
Leachman
movie.
knows about it. Yes.
Right. They treat it like Jeff and Britta in season 3
Yes,
of
they
Community.
do. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what they do. Which is whatever. Fine. Okay. So they go to Malibu.
Sure.
She
And
explains,
they have to move in now because the
explains-
bus is too long.
right,
It's too
via
long a bus ride.
a random guy cleaning his car.
Yeah.
In a wife beater.
and that's a, will you translate? For her?
for
yeah.
her. Oh yeah, let
fuck
me.
yeah.
Okay. He's got like a sort of pompadour.
Yeah, go suck it.
But
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
it's
that's
like
Ben's favorite character.
How do you say they should name
Yeah,
a
it's
gender
Dexter
after you
Jetster.
in Spanish?
What? Sorry.
How do you say they should name a gender after you in Spanish?
Oh, gee.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
That's
But so she is essentially Flor is coerced into moving into Malibu,
and the guy who's translating expresses a little dismay when she agrees to do it. Did
right,
you,
he's
his
like-
face falls
yes,
a little
and
bit.
he's actually
Yeah.
pretty good in the scene.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is she coerced? I guess just because of the job. But like, she reveals that she has a daughter, which she hasn't mentioned.
Oh, they
Taylor
hate that they've been
person who-
holding that secret from her.
Well, not Sandler. Sandler's like, hey, there's probably a reason. And Taylor, he's like, no, shut up.
Right.
Don't talk to me.
Yeah. But like this
Only
woman
Thomas
who is
Hayden Church.
so fiercely protective of her daughter
And her privacy.
and her daughter, her privacy of her daughter's experience in the world. You know, they live in this enclave where, you know, whatever. Why would she agree to do this? That doesn't make any sense to me.
She's an illegal immigrant. Do you know how hard it is to have a job and live in this country?
And that's
all
true.
fair.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
fair.
fair.
I don't believe that. I just think the thing with the daughter is a little bit. It's too neat. It's too convenient.
I genuinely adore that every single element of this
He's so
movie
excited.
track. No, because they're
weird.
like the movies where I feel like this. They're movies I sit there
I
and I
think-
watch and I'm like, every single piece of this makes sense. I don't know why everyone else
It's
hates
hard to complain about the like what you're saying though, because there's just they never dig into any of it. It's all so vague. Because the
know.
daughter starts going to private school. Like,
Right.
is she a full scholarship? Like, who's paying for this?
And
Who
then
did
there
the
is-
documentation on this? Like, what's going on there? Like,
So that
maybe-
line we were talking about earlier, which I do think is kind of nice, where she says, like, my concern is that if she goes to that place, either she's going to be odd or she's going to become just like them.
Right.
You know, either
it's all
way.
very grandly metaphorical. Where like
Yes.
the money is actually mentioned. We do hear about it,
Right.
right? But like we don't see her life. We don't see her house.
Right.
We don't see where she used to work, which seemed to be fine.
Right.
But like, too many hours or what,
It was overnight. She had 2 jobs, so one during the day and
This
one
is
at
like
night.
this
We
is
never
the
get
good
the idea-
life
she
for
lit-
her. I
Yes,
feel like
it is,
this is
but-
the good job.
Right.
She's landed with a rich family. Like,
Right,
this
right.
is her opportunity to make some real money.
right.
But she's also fighting against it the entire time.
That's true.
She's not into it.
No.
but you're allowed to
Whatever.
hate your job.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you do.
Oh, come on now. He
Producing
loves
this podcast.
Yeah. Because you guys, I just looked at the RoboCop runtime.
it. Oh boy.
Jesus.
Ben
I
was,
think though I will admit that you're right. I'm imbuing a lot of stuff into the characters,
and that's the runtime
plot.
before the ads, right?
What's that?
The RoboCop.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
How you doing, Richard?
I'm good. I was just thinking that like
Richard had a really pensive expression.
I was just thinking, like, I think that you're exactly right, Ben. Like that her immigration status, and we're at a moment right now where we're seeing a lot of women who are finally speaking out about like horrible working conditions that they were in, but they had to stay in because they needed the
Yes.
job and they needed the work.
Yes.
I completely get that. I just think that to use the daughter as this kind of like tool or pawn, I don't know. It just it feels weird narratively.
Without her
but yeah.
actually being a fully fleshed out character. If the
Right.
movie was about her,
Yeah.
I would be fine. And I think she's the most interesting perspective in the
Yeah.
movie
Yeah.
were she treated like a real person.
Yeah.
The position she's in is fascinating.
Yeah, and I also think that that the way that Taylor just immediately gloms onto the daughter and just is so, because she's so not her own kid,
Yes.
right? Like that's interesting, and
She likes that the daughter is like, I think, more conventionally beautiful in a lot of ways.
Well,
like,
yeah, I mean,
can
she
take her out
freaks out about it and-
shopping.
right. Yeah.
She's superficial. She's a designy type of person.
Because pretty much
Yeah.
the first thing she does after they move to Malibu is takes the daughter away with like a little note
Right.
like, hey, Flora, I did borrow your daughter for the day.
Gets her
and
hair
that's the
done.
first crisis, right?
Right.
Right.
That's where Flora has to like stand her ground and
Yeah.
write a whole letter.
But then
Like,
there is even stuff like when she brings her to interview at the school and treats it like, oh, we were just walking around and we happened to run onto the grounds and then interview. The first thing she says to the headmaster is like, isn't she beautiful?
yeah,
Like she keeps,
Yeah.
like she fetishizes the daughter in this
Sure.
weird, but not sexually, but like as this
no,
like,
no, you're right.
part of
As
like,
an
I like my
exotic
house, I like
beauty,
my
I
drapes.
guess.
and she says something about she says to Flora like you could make like a fortune
Yes. Like with like child modeling or something. What is it?
no, as like a you're like a womb or like
Yes, a surrogate. You could make
Yeah.
a fortune
right.
as
Yes.
a
So
surrogate.
she makes beautiful children,
Which is like, again, I get Brooks. I get that line from
Yeah.
Brooks because he's poking fun at like rich LA people
Right.
who only think of these things. Like,
Yeah.
but
and I guess there is a certain element also that's interesting about the movie where they're definitely saying things in front of her that they wouldn't normally because she doesn't speak English.
Right.
Which then, when she does very conveniently learn English, all that
It was
tension.
a real tape.
To be fair, she learned Spanglish.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Excuse me.
She learns to
Can we take
speak
that? Can we take that
Muzzy.
again?
Muzzy.
When she learns Muzzy.
Woozy.
Cloris Leachman is great as Muzzy in this.
Yeah.
I will say that. But, you know,
At this point, we've announced that as part of the Blank Check Pictures film slate, we're rebooting Muzzy, right, into a multimedia franchise.
It's going to star Agnes Varda.
As part of Muzzy. We are probably 10 days away from someone announcing a CGI live action Muzzy hybrid.
Starring Agnes Varda.
well, I mean, it's a real boon for Goran, French Gorans, you know.
That's right. Do you know about this, the Gorans? You don't know about Gorans.
No, what?
Do you know about Gorans?
Gorans?
From The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, no.
Oh, they're these little rock
Oh,
monsters.
yes.
That's Agnes Varda.
Yes.
She's a Goran.
Yes.
A lovable one.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh
my God.
What are we talking about again?
I don't know.
Here's like a scene where I can't figure out where Vega stands, okay? Sandler does the like, hey, I need all these
Right. So
beach
the
stones.
first blow up is the shopping trip. This is the second blow up.
Right.
He needs the
beach
sea glass.
Sea glass,
yes.
right.
And what's
Here's
his
a specific
offer?
shape. He goes, what, $1 per
It
piece?
can't
or
be
something?
$1. It must be more than
It's
that.
like because it's $1 for every piece, and then for ones that are bigger than this, it's $5,
Right.
and then ones that are not that are anything but clear brown or green,
right.
is then worth more,
Right.
And so
Right.
she finds all these like
Which-
blue ones.
Great
or
metaphor
whatever.
for capitalism.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
And he sort of makes this offer as a joke, or I guess it's more like his children are lazy, so he doesn't really think they're going to
Well,
like.
it's an idle thing. He's
Yeah,
just like,
right.
like something to do.
He wants something to keep the kids occupied.
All
He
his
needs
kids
the-
do are like sit on pool noodles.
He's hoping
all
that
day.
his son will be swept out to sea.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, give him a task. I'll have to pay out $5, $10
He could
maybe
have
in
just
total.
paid Cloris Leachman. She would have killed the kid.
Oh,
she's
fully.
got it in her.
She's a stone cold killer.
have Thomas Hayden Church drive over.
Right. But then she comes back the next day, the daughter,
Right.
and is like, I'm so sorry. I feel
We
so
see her
bad
out on the
about this.
beach, right.
I
Yeah,
stayed
yeah,
up
yeah.
all night counting. Please don't pay me anything. And he is like, what? Spills it all over. How much do I owe you? $640.
Right.
Well, what happens is she shows him how much she found on the
Right.
beach. He says, "Oh, now I'm broke," and she's like, "Oh, you don't have to pay me. It's okay."
No, I was joking.
And
I'm
then
sorry.
she
I'm
gets
gonna
serious
pay
about
you.
it, yeah.
Right.
And so it's like, so it's like hundreds of dollars
Yes.
that he again just has in cash.
Of course,
apparently.
he gets it out of the mug and he gives it to her in a
Right.
brown paper envelope.
And then Paz Vega gets furious that she was paid for doing a task.
Sure.
Like it wasn't like I
And
understand
she's
when
also
she's like,
just-
don't accept money just wantonly given out.
Yeah.
Leone asks, handing you a 20 to wipe
It's
your
so
nose.
much
you know?
money.
Right.
And then Sandler's like, I'm sorry. I thought I was going to get like
I made her
$50
promise.
max.
You know, I made
Right.
a
He's
deal.
like, I'm trying to honor
Right.
a contract here.
Right,
And she
exactly.
said, he says like, I thought it'd be like $50. And she's like, $50 is a lot of money. Like
Yeah.
she is trying to like refocus it. But like, this man he's in a beach house in Malibu. He has no concept of money. Like,
Yeah, and
this
also, she put a lot of work into that. Like, she stayed up all night counting it. Like, it's not like she just, like, looking
Yeah.
for, you know, like, a quick buck. Like, she, like, did the
Sure,
time on
sure.
this task she was given.
But still, I mean, it's an awkward. Like, look, if I had a kid and some parent like that I knew who's richer than me,
Yeah.
gave my kid like hundreds of dollars because my kid did some bullshit,
Right.
I'd be like, you can't do that.
You
like,
know what
I'm in charge of the money my kid gets. Like,
Right, well,
I
exactly.
get it.
Sure.
You know what
Sure.
it made me think about was a really great scene in The River Wild when it's their birthday
Great
for
scene.
Joseph
Great
Mazzello,
movie. Mhm.
and Kevin Bacon like gives him this weird like I don't know stick that has like a hole in it, and he takes out of the hole. It's and he takes out and it's $200 that from the catalog auction that they robbed.
Right.
And he's like he's really excited, and Meryl Streep's like no you can't and both her and David Strathairn are like no we can't accept that, and it's really well played. Again that sort of
Right.
social
It's a weird
awkwardness
dynamic.
of like
Yeah. Don't give my kid money.
and
Right.
so I think that this does it well too. And this is ostensibly the centerpiece of the film, like this scene, this big
This scene, yes,
kind
this
of like
big fight.
this definition of both of their kind of ideologies and like whatever.
One of these fights where Adam Sandler is stark raving calm,
Yeah,
as
Yes.
Tay Leone
He's
later
also
says.
He's
holding
just
a
sort
big
of
sandwich for a lot of it.
exasperated. He's
Right.
holding the
Right.
sandwich.
He's so
'cause
angry
this
he's
is
not
the scene where he's
chowing
made the
his-
sandwich.
He's made a what? It's like a lardon or like and Like it's a
Yes.
fancy BLT
It's got
with
a
an
fried egg, right? And there's this scene where there's a shot of him separating the sandwich and like the egg
Yolk.
And then
goo
it goes like, "Oh, you
comes
are
out.
good," or whatever.
And he has like
Yeah.
a big beer in like a nice glass.
Oh God, it
and,
does.
and you always say nothing frustrates you more.
does frustrate
in movies
me. I
than
was
people
very
don't
frustrated.
Eat meals.
I also really like fried egg sandwiches if you do them right, like 1,000 times more than a scrambled egg sandwich. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's well known that I hate eggs, so when they have the lingering 15-second shot of the egg running down the side of the sandwich, that for me is like the eyeball being slit in Chandler Andalou.
Do you know
I
who
lost my mind.
Loved it.
Do you know
Loved
who
it.
you have? What you have that in common with?
Who
Guy Fieri
hates eggs?
doesn't like an egg.
We have a lot of things in common.
Well, you have the same hair.
Right.
Your sunglasses are on the back of your
We
head right
both
now.
closed down large businesses in Times Square over New Year's.
You also have a product you call Donkey Sauce.
Oh boy.
But you don't want to know what that is, no, Griffin.
No.
Yikes.
And it was the M&M store that you closed down,
I
right?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just did that as a public service.
I thought
did.
it was
It was a
Mars
mitzvah.
2020 or whatever.
That was my older business.
Right,
we closed
right.
up 10 years.
Oh man, Mars 2112.
I think I had
2112, that's what it
3
is.
consecutive birthdays.
Did
there.
you know that you had to go to Mars?
25,
Yeah,
26,
to
27.
21, 12. Anyway, I went to a birthday at Mars 2112.
I remember taking Romley there right before it closed
Mm-hmm.
because she was born after its heyday. Like she never.
Sure,
My mom
yes.
was like, "You boys used to love that so much. You should take Rom there." And I took her there, and they like just hadn't done maintenance. They knew it was closing, and it
Right.
was just like the walls were peeling and shit.
It was like Troy McClure's apartment.
Exactly.
This was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
restaurant off
Yeah.
of Times Square
Yeah.
in New York City. For those of you who don't know,
Where you would get into like a simulator.
you had to board
Right.
a motion. They'd go, "Here's your flight. Your flight is in 5 minutes." And
Right.
you get an emotion simulator ride that featured almost hitting the World Trade Center and was not updated after 9/11.
Oh, God.
I definitely went to it before 9/11. I'm now
Yeah.
remembering.
And
this.
it was open for another 7 years. I think
Yeah.
it closed in 2008. And then you'd go into this restaurant that was this huge cavernous recreation
It was
of
like
being
the Rainforest Cafe,
the
but
catacombs
space.
of Mars.
Yes, yes.
And your waiters would be dressed up as Martians, and they had Martian go-go dancers and like balls suspended from the ceiling.
I just remember
And it
that
was
I
like
went
hockey
and
puck
I got like
pizza and, like,
a space
spaghetti and
burger, and it was like a burger. Like I don't know if it was very space.
They had a great arcade.
They had a cool arcade. I remember that. It closed in 2012,
Yeah, geez.
so it was just 100 years off.
they almost,
You know, you're so
they
close.
almost made it.
So sad.
Jesus Christ. All right, so Spanglish. So
Spanglish.
this is the Mars 2112 scene where
They get in this big fight, and he calls
and it's
her
a
out.
translated fight,
Right,
you know,
the
like
daughter
because
has
this is
to-
like
yeah.
this is his thing. He never uses
Yeah,
subtitles.
and she's trying to find the word for smug.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Yeah. But I love that. That is actually a great Brooke scene where she
Yeah.
says the word, and the daughter's like, and Sandler's like, oh, that's not going to be a good word. Like he sinks into
he's
his
like,
chair.
I'm not gonna like that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is funny. But then he calls her out, right? He's like, well, you like changed the clothes of my daughter, so like, how different is that? And it's like, you're paying her to fucking do that shit. What are you talking about,
It's
Adam
also
Sandler?
just like even those moments that are nice
I got mad
ideas
about that.
are
I'm
so underlined and italicized and in bold in this movie.
Sure,
like he
yes.
never lets a moment just sort of like
Yeah.
happen offhandedly, which is what he used to be so good at.
Yeah.
And
He's not paying her though.
Well, he's paying her to. She's
But she gets involved in this girl's life.
How would you describe her? What is her role in the house?
She's
What's the word you would use for her?
I guess I would say maid.
She's a maid, and like a maid altering a child's clothes is not that
Did
outside
anyone
of the
ask
purview.
her to do it?
What so now she's not allowed to have her own initiative. She can only do what she's commanded to do.
I mean,
I'm just saying, like he's saying the dynamics are the same. They are not the same. That is a weird comparison for him to make.
Okay, all right.
She's
I
a
hear you.
paid domestic servant for the household.
But she's trying to help this little girl who's feeling really
No, I know, it's
self-conscious
nice.
about her weight.
Yeah, it was a good
but
thing for her to do.
I guess, all right.
But he's saying like it's an intrusion, like just like how I handed your daughter a envelope of money.
I agree with Ben that I think it is a wholly nice thing to do.
Yes.
But it's only a conflict because she is so staunchly against any time that they make
Interfere.
a move.
But
right.
almost every time the Klaskys are trying to be nice, they hand over money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But what I also
The ultimate
don't-
kindness.
and maybe
Right.
maybe this is what I felt was weird about the fact that she comes to live in Malibu. What the
Right.
kid does,
Yeah.
and maybe I wasn't articulating.
And the kid
before,
loves it, by the way.
Loves it.
She's so into Malibu.
Is if
Yeah.
that kind of interference is going to bother her. Why
Right.
why put her
Right.
in like what is she going to do otherwise? Sit in that little room for 3 months? Like she's going to interact with this family. They're going to interfere in some
Right.
capacity.
It's one of those movies where it's like you don't understand why she doesn't quit sooner or why she quits at all. Like,
Right, yeah,
it's
yeah,
one of
yeah.
those things where,
Yeah.
like, by the end of the movie,
Shit's
when she
already
does
fucked
quit,
up,
right?
But,
It's
you
like
know,
at this
but she
point,
needs the job, like
right.
Ben said. I mean,
right?
you know,
Either you're going to stick with it, or you're going to get angry at the first offense and like walk out and be like line in the sand.
Right.
There's a weird. I mean, obviously, the what happens between her and Sandler changes, cast the die a bit.
but this is then it just turns into science fiction because then after that is
Well,
when like
they have this thing where he corrects her and she goes like,
you're right. She concedes the point and like there's a détente. She's like,
He's
all right,
like,
I'll
that's
stay.
so amazing to
And
wa-
it's
for
like the
someone to
Brooks
just
like,
think-
wouldn't
yeah.
it be great if our insecurities were sexy, if needy? You know?
but Richard's right. Also, Adam Sandler is like amazed that a woman just like agreed
Conceded
to
the point.
something he
Right.
said.
And
Right.
also, you think you can do these things, Nemo, but you can't.
yeah, what's
Let's do some Brooks.
yeah, I know.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
if you look at the way that I guess this is the moment when he starts to kind of fall in love with her or
Right.
whatever.
Yes.
Here's the first woman who hasn't yelled at me in my life. Is like
Right.
what they're trying to present.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think if we had sex, she'd like take all of her clothes off and maybe like it would be a mutual
Right.
experience?
There would
or-
be cleats digging into my sides.
But like, so the ideal woman is like Taylor Leone's character is this like harpy nightmare.
Right.
And then, but the other woman in the movie is
Can't speak English.
He can't communicate her.
Right.
She's kind of silent and pretty.
Yes,
Which is like
it's-
the
it's-
weird Little
it's-
Mermaid complex.
Or
of,
the
like-
Love Actually thing, where it's
Right.
like Colin Farrell. Colin Firth. I wish it was Colin Farrell.
Right.
Oh boy.
Colin Firth falling in love with the Portuguese woman who
Right.
can't speak English and
Which-
like
A thing I love about The Shape of Water is that the character who has that viewpoint is the bad guy. That Michael Shannon like is totally into fetishizing the way that she can't talk.
Hey, Bottle
Right.
Rocket,
egg.
Bottle Rocket.
right?
Bottle Rocket.
That's a part of the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. Although in that one, I think
Egg.
he connects with her in spite of that rather than them that being the attraction.
Oh, you just did the sign language for egg. We're in love now.
Did I really?
Yeah, that's an egg.
It's just like in Shape of Water. She's like egg. He's like egg, and she's like, well, clearly this is happening. I'm throwing down with this fucking sea creature.
Great movie.
He knows the word for egg.
Great movie.
I like the
So
movie.
now they're like in love. She decides she wants to learn English.
Well, we know that he like has a thing for her, but we don't
Right.
really know about her for him.
No.
Really, until the end. I feel like.
Right, but she respects that. Don't they have that thing, or does that come later when she says that he's more like a Mexican woman?
That's when they're in the car.
Yes, that's earlier when after
back in
Taylor
LA.
Leone has like threatened to snap his dick off or whatever. Like he drives her. I don't remember what Taylor
At-
Leone
at
did,
some
but
point-
he's in tears. No, it's after Taylor Leone did the clothes thing.
Right.
And he's in tears expressing to her like, man, she was having such a good day and she was so happy about the present.
And
And
for
then
one
to watch
moment,
her fit right.
it seemed like all her problems with her mother were solved.
And Paz Vega is basically like, who is this person crying? I can't deal with this. I don't know what he's saying.
it's like
and
her first day at work.
Right,
Yeah.
basically tries to like jump out of the car, and he's like, "Hey, wait," you know, and like, but yes, then the monologue is like, "Yes, he was more like a woman."
Yeah,
With
that's
his-
in
with
the
his
college
tears.
essay.
Right. The idea is that he's
Yeah.
like the only man who has ever listened, and he's in touch with his emotions, and
Sure.
he's perceptive. And so Paz Vega like recognizes this like.
Well, Paz Vega as a Mexican has never seen a man do this. I guess I don't
Right?
know.
Like I don't get it. Yeah.
I don't know. Paz Vega,
but then she
Flor.
learns English. Flor.
Yeah, then she learns English from Muzzy.
Uh-huh.
It's a real tape. IMDb trivia, real tape. I think it's not Muzzy, but let's just say it is Muzzy.
Okay.
Then and this is what I'm saying about science fiction. Like then the kid gets enrolled in private school. Like,
Yes.
okay, great. Can I go to private school? The kid leans on her mother for a while. You know, Flora isn't into it.
Here's an extra backpack we had lying around. Taylor Leone rips off the tag. What used to be played out in a Brooks master shot now has to get like a fucking punched in close up just so you don't miss, you know?
Yeah.
Like no detail unnoticed.
And now she's going to school, and Taylor Leone, who's basically not been in the movie, is like, how's everyone doing? I'll see y'all later, getting into her SUV. And Cloris Leachman, who has also kind of been quiet for a while,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
runs
like-
up to the car.
Remember the first 15 minutes I was like flinty and made like a lot of like witty. I was like rapping grandma and I
Yeah,
just threw
right.
out these like razor sharp barbs.
Right, yeah, I was like sort of like laying the groundwork for Betty White's next 10
Right.
years.
It was like just a lush and like a fucking.
She's then,
right.
and then she just pops up and she's like, I know what you're doing. You're going to lose your husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
This
audience
is the best
like,
man you've ever known. Also, I've been sober for 12 weeks.
You're right.
No one noticed. Yeah.
Right, no one noticed. Maybe because I wasn't on screen.
And
She was looking for the sun.
Yeah.
Deborah-
But she recognizes Paz Vega and Adam Sandler hitting it off
I guess
and is
so.
like weirdly permissive. Like there's that moment when
Yeah.
she like leaves them and is like,
well, she's having an affair.
right.
I guess.
Which
With Thomas
she
in
knows?
church. She's getting that church.
Also seems like she hates her daughter.
Getting that THC. You know what
She's
I'm
got
saying,
some
Ben?
THC.
Yeah, no.
The energy's gone.
That's the one thing you don't like?
He's just playing Spanglish in his head right now. Guys. He's not listening.
Well, no, I don't know.
Got a little 2018 book in
I
your
guess
pocket here.
Yeah, no, I know. I guess
Positive. This is the year of the positive.
it's like this movie where I feel like it's just so written by a white guy who's trying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, part of me is like, now as we talk it out, being like, that's really generic.
No, I don't want to ruin this for you.
Stick with Spanglish.
I don't want to ruin
No,
this.
you kind of
Stay on
ruined
the train.
it. 'cause
No,
I've
train to
thought about
Spain.
it.
I'm not even going to...
The trip to Spain, I don't know.
I didn't even want to open this can of worms.
Yeah.
But I had a very similar reaction to how you did watching this movie, watching Downsizing.
Well, I want to talk about downsizing.
We'll talk about that in
but
our
it's
Blanky
April,
Awards. Right.
So let's
I know.
talk about it another time.
We'll have talked about it in the past. But I had that same thing where I was like, this is all working for me. I get why everyone else hates this.
Yeah.
I understand like the fire it's playing with, but it's working. It's clicking. Anyway, so now what she then comes to Sandler and opens up about everything.
Yep. I don't even know if there's much connective tissue between that. That's where she confesses to Sandler.
Right, and he says,
I'm sleeping with another man.
I didn't understand
Or
anything of what
I've
you
been
were saying.
seeing another man.
Right.
She's ranting and raving, and he like calms her down to be like, "Did you sleep with the guy?"
Yeah.
And
Did you say that? Did I miss that?
He has
part
all
or
these
not?
like Brooks lines where he's like, the earth is cracked open. It's
Is
so
there any way I
noisy.
can live without knowing at this point?
Right,
No, I
right.
think I
Is there
need to
a-
know.
Right. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like one Brooksy line after another.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. He's suddenly like shooting like the t-shirt gun at you, like
It's like whoever wrote the AV Club review for Drive Angry shot in 3D, the Nicolas Cage movie. I just think of this a lot and apply it to other movies. Where they said the problem with the film is that it's only guitar solos.
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Which I like that movie. But they were
Scott
saying,
Tobias,
Yeah.
the great Scott
yes,
Tobias.
Scott Tobias. It was just saying like the problem is if like every move is your special move, then that
Then-
move doesn't have any power
right,
anymore.
exactly.
And Brooks gets to a point where he wants every line to be like,
Brooksy.
Right.
Yes.
Bobby Finger and I sometimes like to just make up like movie premises and like cast them and whatever. And we were idiots, but we had one that we were like talking about for a while that was like a James L. Brooks movie, and it was set in Silicon Valley with Reese Witherspoon and somebody else.
I'm on board.
Yeah, me too. Is there a title?
Oh, there was. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, we kept writing a little lines, like Brooksy lines back and forth.
Angel
and
Investor?
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And it's really hard, but it's really
it is.
fun. I
Yeah.
like those Brooksy. Mine was Reese Witherspoon would say to somebody, "You're the kind of a person who's a kind of a person."
God, that is such a Brooksy.
Isn't that good?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's so good.
yeah.
Oh
Richard,
my
5 million Brooks
Oh
points.
yes, so many Brooks
but
points.
you can't do that, like you said,
Right. Every
every
time.
line of a scene because
Especially not in your big dramatic
because
scene.
a lot of times with those Brooksisms,
Yeah.
they don't actually mean anything,
Right.
And so if a whole scene is them, the scene means nothing. Like what
Right,
is
it's-
being expressed in that scene when she's
Right.
confessed?
It's like a castle made out of rice paper. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
you're like, what is? I don't
Right.
know.
And I feel like you look at broadcast news, not to keep on going back to it, but it is the perfect like fucking
Yeah.
realization of everything that he's good at. They have like a job to do. There are stakes within scenes, so they have to talk about other things. There's
Right.
like dialogue of substance that is then cut with like these
Right.
Brooksy lines.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's like, well, he's freaked out about his restaurant, but he doesn't really talk about it that much. She doesn't have a job, but she doesn't really talk about it that much. They just talk in these like Brooksy sort of charming like platitudes.
And our supposedly like stuff is changing and stuff is happening, and I just don't feel.
At
and
all.
that's why
Yeah.
when so Sandler leaves the house and he takes Paz Vega with him, and they go to the restaurant, and this is the moment when they're going to kind of.
She says it's like Valhalla, right? Or no, what does she say?
I
don't remember.
hate that
She
scene.
loves it. Yeah.
The restaurant where it's just like it looks fine.
He puts his hand on her back and he can't stop patting it.
and he makes food. Yeah, he's like
He makes the food for
the
her.
rest of my body feels like it's falling off a cliff. My hand makes sense.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, there are a lot of these good lines,
Right.
but like, what is being expressed here?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
Their connection doesn't make
She
sense.
she says,
Apart from
"I
she's
love
nice
you"
to
to
him.
him.
Yes.
And it's like, wait, what? Like this very principled
But then
person,
she
like
puts her feet on the floor, which will then cause the world to explode.
Looks at her feet and runs away.
Right.
But
yeah.
the connection between them is.
It's
but
insanity.
what comes before then? They're in the kitchen, and he's talking about how good looking she is. And what does he say?
Please, Griffin, go
They
ahead.
should name a gender after you.
What the hell does that mean?
I mean, that's Brooks like trying to write a Brooks line, but he has like the flu or something. You know what I mean? Like, or like it went through Google Translate and it came out
That's
wrong.
like, you know, in The Simpsons when they cut, they show a picture of James L. Brooks and it's like the long finger. Is that it? Yeah, right. It's the long fingernails and the
Yes.
typewriter.
Yes,
That's that version of Brooks
Right,
writing
right,
that line.
right.
Yeah.
It also is like, what a word that is loaded with so much more meaning
now.
Yeah.
Yes.
and fucking like gunpowder today than it was then.
Yeah.
Like that line was wrong-headed back then.
Right.
But like hearing it today, it feels like a slur, you know?
It does. And it's also like, what does it mean?
Yeah, right.
Like, what? I don't understand.
Not
How is
that word feels like a slur, but in the
it just
context
means,
that he
I
places
think what
it,
he's
yeah.
saying is that she's hot. I think
Yeah.
that's what he's going for.
is that what
there.
it is?
Yeah, that he
Okay,
thinks
she's
that
good
she's
looking.
attractive.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And
even though he has expressed almost zero sexuality, I mean, even in his sex
no,
scene.
zero. He wears like billowy linen shirts. He has like a Jufro. He looks
Right.
like fucking Humpty Dumpty.
can't
Like, I
come.
mean,
The man fundamentally cannot come.
the only thing this guy can do is like make lamb chops. I don't know. It's so weird. Just like what he does like 8 times in the movie is like collapse into a comfy piece of furniture, like exasperatedly.
Now, okay.
That's like Adam Sandler's whole character is just like,
Of course, there's an explosive,
Yeah.
an explosive set piece to end off the film.
please, what what's
No,
that?
the movie just kind of
No,
ends.
well, you're forgetting
Yeah.
there's also the scene where Téa Leoni, who's made up like she just got shot with like a snot gun.
Oh, right.
And like and she's like, well, what
Right.
should I do? I should call him. I should, like I'll explain everything. And Cloris Leachman's like, no, just say, I'm glad you're home. I'm glad you came back home. Or
Right, and they
whatever.
have all these lines together.
Yeah.
Where what's the thing? I know it was a wildly abusive mother.
Right, Brooks is trying to tap into like, oh yeah, no, it's all Cloris Leachman's fault, and you're like, you mean the sassy broad who's like everyone's favorite
And-
character?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think I can tap into like whatever she was like as a monster, like younger woman.
Right.
Maybe Anne Bancroft could, maybe because Anne Bancroft's more threatening. I don't know,
Yeah.
Yes,
but not Cloris Leachman. And so she does say this line.
like inherently likable about Cloris Leachman, and there's
She's
also
the best. Who fucking doesn't like Cloris
There's
Leachman?
something very like of the people about her.
Yes.
Sure.
There's nothing distant about her. There's nothing remote about her, even when she's mean.
Yeah.
Or she's being kind of like bawdy. You're just like, yeah, but I mean, she's got good salt in her.
I think a lot of times in her later career, like when she's in stuff, it's like she's just an audience member who just like walked into the scene and it's like, hey, what's going on here? And it comments on it,
Yeah.
And I think that is like a funny thing in general, but in this movie, it just feels uncomfortable because it's like, just leave, Cloris. Like you
Right.
shouldn't be here.
Right.
It's
Like go to do a different thing.
Well, the only thing I will say that I do like is that it's unresolved. Like we see Sandler come home.
Yeah.
Taya says the line to him. He's like, "I'm going to
Right.
sleep on the couch," and that's it. That's the end. That's the
Right.
end of them.
Right. And then
Right?
they,
Pretty
Vega
much. We
quits.
have one more scene.
And Sarah Steele gets no real resolution.
Well, we have the
exactly.
one more scene where she takes her daughter away from the family, and Sarah Steele like gives her a hug.
Right. Right.
But like
And
it's
And
like,
Sandler tells Sarah Steele how much he loves her.
Yes. And Cloris
Which is kind of a
Leachman
nice scene.
says, I lived my life for myself. You live your life for your daughter. None of it works.
right.
Which is like, there are a lot of good, like, interesting lines about parenting where, like, Adam
Yeah.
Sandler says to her on the beach, like, it's sanity to worry or whatever. He's like, there's like some thought about how to parent and what the kind of burdens of that are. But like, that's not what the movie's about ultimately. So it doesn't really matter.
No.
But I think that last scene when she leaves, and it's very like The Help, we're like walking down the street, at the end, where
Where they're at the bus stop.
and she articulates, she's like, is who I am so, like, do you want to be so different from me?
The line is, I have
Yeah.
it here, is what you want for yourself to become someone very different than me. Which
Yes.
is
and
actually...
Pasmega delivers it beautifully.
That's
And that's a really
Pretty
interesting
impactful.
tension
Yeah.
to explore in a
Yes.
movie. I just wish this movie did
you
it.
wish retroactively
Sure.
at the
Yeah.
utterance of that line that's what the movie had been
Yeah,
about.
that would be really interesting.
Yes.
And that is also something that I believe a kid would write a college essay about.
100%.
And I don't know, but that last scene is frustrating because it is really good, and it's like, oh, here's the idea of the movie,
Right.
and it's the last scene, and it's just a pain. I think I texted you, David, something similar. I was like, there are some good ideas here. It's
there
just
are, for sure.
it's just and also for Téa Leoni to get absolutely no resolution at the end like that after putting in all that crazy work.
That's true.
It's like
and crying and
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
This is the line I'm looking at right here, which I remember being like cornerstone of the trailer. Like, oh, this is going to be Leone's Oscar scene is, you were an alcoholic and wildly promiscuous woman during my formative years, so that I'm in this fix because of you. It is your fault. So that I'm in this fix because of you, it is your fault, and I just need that moment for us to build on. And then Cloris Leachman says, you have a solid point, dear, but right now the lessons of my life are coming in handy for you.
Yeah.
Which is like, what the fuck? What?
Yeah.
Do I need makeup? No, what you need right now is a hose. But like, it's like, what the fuck?
SAG nominee?
What? SAG nominee. That's crazy.
Not that SAG.
Yeah, the
Nomination.
line about your low self-esteem is just starting to be like common sense or whatever.
Right. All these things.
It's
It's
just-
just like,
and I
suddenly she's fucking Don Rickles,
Yeah.
like throwing fucking
Yeah.
curveballs at her.
I read A.O. Scott's review of the movie, which is really good. People should read it. He singles that line out as he's like, that's an extraordinarily cruel thing to say to somebody.
Yeah.
Sure,
And it's
right.
like, well, she's not a cruel, like that's not who she's supposed to be.
Right.
I've got some news for you guys. 2 new scenes were shot when test audiences found the ending unsatisfying. So whatever the ending used to be was even more unsatisfying.
Can I tell you what my guess is?
Yeah.
It was the opening and the ending. I think the college admissions essay thing was added later.
Sure.
That's my
Oh,
guess.
I could see
to
that.
put a frame around it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Boo.
That could be true.
Also, this film was shot in sequence. Sarah Steele gained 15 pounds for the role, which is fucking bizarre.
Oh, did you say on Mike who or what Sandler turned down to be in this?
Oh, please.
Wait, brace yourself.
He turned down the role of Max, Jamie Foxx's part in Collateral, to be in this
Was
movie.
100% the choice. Everyone wanted him.
Yeah, they were like excited for like, probably in a similar way
Yeah.
after seeing Punch Drunk Love for like dramatic bottled rage. Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Imagine that movie with those two.
Yeah.
I think Jamie Foxx is so good in Collateral,
Phenomenal.
but it's a totally different performance
And
from
you know-
whatever Sandler
Yes.
would have given.
That Leachman was going to play the cruise role.
Of course, that's what the hair. She had that hair in
Yeah.
Spanglish
Yeah.
for the cruise role.
And Thomas Hayden Church was going to be Jada Pinkett.
At that point, CAA was packaging them together. It had to be Leachman and Sandler. If
Yeah.
you can find
Yeah.
a film, a script that has roles for both of them, it's a go pick.
they were
And
the
Taya
real bogey
Leone
of
was
the
going
call.
to play Javier Bardem. We could do this all day.
It is interesting though because
Sarah Steele, Mark Ruffalo.
Fox is
They just swap casts.
yes, Fox is obviously phenomenal in Collateral, but he's
So good.
very much playing against type in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sandler is much more the kind of obvious idea of who the character is. The thing that you would wonder is if he could pull off the transformation by the end
Right.
when he has to kind of walk the walk.
Right.
Which Fox can do because that's closer to his
Yeah.
normal persona.
Yeah.
The more impressive part is him being so sort of
Right.
stripped down
Jam-
and unassuming for the first 2/3.
Jamie Foxx can be steely and
Right.
tough. Yeah.
Right.
Sandler, I don't know if I buy that.
Um,
But anyway, I mean, and I feel like this didn't really affect Sandler's career. It was kind of value neutral, wasn't it? I mean, like no one really cared that he.
yeah, this was
he's-
a nothing on Sandler.
He had just put so much less on the
He's
line.
one. He,
than-
yeah, exactly.
than
He's,
Taylor Leone did.
He doesn't really. There's nothing. He emerges unscathed. From
I think it just made people go like, oh, weird. Okay, so conclusively, people don't go see the Sandler dramedies.
Well,
Right.
it's
Like they see the Happy Madison movies, but if
That's-
you plot
that-
them into one of these, it's not going to be an automatic box office success.
sure that's true. Although they didn't really advertise it with him.
But the poster is. Do you know what the tagline for this movie is?
Every family needs a hero.
He's the only one
What
who's
does
in
that mean?
focus, and
What
it's
does it
Adam
mean? It
Sandler
means
above the
every
title.
family needs a hero.
Yeah,
The poster should have been the sandwich.
He is not above the title.
he's not above the title.
No actors are credited above the title. The poster is both of them, sort of, but it's such a weird poster.
I mean, it looks like the poster for Happy End.
It does. The weirdest part of the poster is that the Mexican characters have their backs to the audience,
Yes.
so we can't see their faces.
I don't understand what's weird about that.
And so you've got Sandler sort of standing here, and then Taya's got her floppy hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah Steele sort of awkwardly
The
sandwiched
final
there.
injustice to Taylor Leone. We're going to put the hat on the poster.
They're actually all women. All the three, like Steele, Leachman,
Wearing
and
floppy
Leone
hats.
are all wearing floppy
They're
hats.
very religious.
They got the Dreamer's disease.
Oh, do you know how?
What a callback.
Thank you.
I tweeted something at you guys recently of Tom Cruise in the bucket hat
Yes.
from Vanilla Sky.
Yeah.
And do you have any idea? I was supposed to be writing a wrap of the Golden Globes.
How long
It was
it
like
took you?
12:30. I had to find it on Amazon, find the scene, and it was loading slowly just to take a single screenshot for a stupid tweet joke, and it was worth
you
it.
Took
are-
a screenshot for that shit. I was like, how do you get this so good?
That's the thing I was
worth it.
going to say. You are better than anyone else, Richard, at responding to a tweet with just an image, no caption, and finding just the right screen cap. But I didn't realize you put that much effort into actually capping
In
yourself.
that instance, I did. I mean, I have the Mark Rylance.
Right, you
yeah,
have
of
one
course.
saved.
Saved on my
right,
Easter egg.
Right,
Yeah.
so you could shoot it off the hip at any moment.
Right.
Can we tell people what I got you for Christmas? My Christmas present to you.
Sure. Yeah.
You got him a Christmas present?
I got Richard. I got you one too as well.
Yeah, you got me
I got you Ray.
Kylo
She's from the
Ren.
Resistance. Oh,
No,
I got
I
you
got
Kylo
Kylo
Ren. I
Ren.
took
You
home
took
Ray,
Ray.
and Ben got a Red Boy. Of course, next year Ben's gonna get Spanglish on Blu-ray. That's my present for him. He's made Christmas a lot easier.
The price is only going up. This is like kayak. There's like a
I
graph.
know. I'm gonna buy you a couple. It's a good investment.
Okay,
So
great.
one you can
They're like
play.
Bitcoins?
The other ones you keep.
What did you get Richard for Christmas?
It's a
Jesus Christ, we gotta
cryptocurrency,
wrap this
Spanglish
up.
Blu-rays. I got Richard for Christmas. Richard has been a big fan of the one shot of Mark Rylance in the Ready Player One trailer.
Sure.
His whole look, his whole
His still demeanor.
his joie de vivre.
Yeah.
And so for Christmas, I made Richard an Elf Yourself video where
It's-
all the faces were Mark Rylance.
Oh, I saw
It's
that.
pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we-
it was a
you-
good Christmas
No,
present.
you called Steven Spielberg and asked him to direct an Elf Yourself
That's right.
video,
Right,
which
shot
he
by
did.
Janusz Kaminski.
Yeah, it was all
Exactly.
mocap.
Yeah, and it was set to taking care of business,
Yeah.
and it featured 5 breakdancing.
It's really great. It's unnerving, but I like
It
it.
is great. And also like they're like making like printers and stuff. Like the toys they're making are very
They're taking
strange.
care of business.
Yeah,
They work for Staples. Yeah.
Let's play the box office game
Okay.
and then send Richard out of the door.
Gotta go see.
Commuter, you got to
Neeson.
board the train.
Yep.
It's Neeson season, baby. We're recording this in January.
Spanglish
Uh-huh.
opened number 3 at the box office on December 17th.
This was a big holiday.
It was a
movie.
Christmas movie.
Yeah.
This Malibu summer movie was
And
released at Christmas.
Let's also make it clear, aside from Punch Drunk Love, which people went, okay, but that was PTA too artsy, and Little Nicky, which was his only real Happy Mass and Pan Out at this point, every Sandler movie opens to between 30 and 40 and ends up over 100.
That's true.
So I
That's
think
true.
even if they thought, well, it's not going to play as big as a normal Sandler,
They thought it would at least.
he's a sure thing.
It opened to $8.8 million.
Okay.
A number 3 at the box office. It grosses 42 on an $80 million budget.
Ooh.
It made 12 foreign, so total 55.
Yeah.
So not good.
Nope.
Number 1 was also a new release. It's an adaptation of a children's series of books.
This is 2004.
This is 2004.
So it's not Narnia's the following year.
Not Narnia.
Is it Chamber of Secrets?
No.
Oh, is it a series of unfortunate events?
That's the one. Another sort of somewhat disappointing Christmas release. Like it
Yeah.
did better than Spanglish. Like
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, but that movie cost a ton of money.
Yes.
made, like,
It-
$115.
It's also
Yeah.
one of the most expensive looking movies of all time.
very-
Doesn't Meryl Streep get eaten by snakes or leeches in that?
Leeches.
Gets eaten by leeches.
I like that movie.
I'm not a fan.
I do not like that TV show.
I'm not.
I haven't watched the show.
Haven't
Oh,
watched the
it's
show.
really, it's really bad.
Number 2 is a sequel that is very strange. A very strange sequel to a very successful movie.
Ocean's
K-20, the
12?
Widowmaker?
Do you know
Ocean's
why I
12.
got that?
Yeah, I
because
don't
I
know.
just watched it like 3 days ago and I couldn't get over how strange it is.
It's
I
awesome.
I hated that movie when I first saw it. I thought it was so indulgent and like
is.
it was just like look at us in Italy, but I kind of like it.
I think
It's a
it's
great
brilliant.
movie.
I think the
I think
Julia
it's
Roberts
absolutely
joke
brilliant
is
now.
despicable, but
I love
beyond
it.
that,
I love
think-
it, but I've always wanted a movie to make that joke.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I've always wanted a movie to make that joke. But I was sitting there watching it and I was like, I totally understand why audiences turned against this. I can't believe every major critic hated it at the time.
Hated it.
There
were a
there was
couple defenders.
instant cult status, I would say, for that one. But yes.
How
yes.
much did it make? Because it wasn't. It was like it was,
It was
sort
still
of.
the
was a
top
hit.
10 for that year.
Was
It was a hit,
Yeah.
made 125
I
domestic.
guess they made the third one. So.
Yeah, right.
362 worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the kind of hit I think they wanted it to be, but it was a hit.
It is such a strange movie.
I love that movie. Number 4 is the real Christmas movie of this year, which has already made $123 million in 6 weeks. So it came out like Thanksgiving time, and it is just chugging along.
2004.
Yeah.
Not
made by
National
an
Treasure.
Oscar-winning director.
Say about an Oscar-winning director. Does it become an Oscar player?
No,
It's not a
a
Spielberg?
children's film.
It's a children's film.
not Spieley.
2004. It's a franchise or is it a one-off?
One off, based on a book.
It's a one-off based on a book. 2004 came around Thanksgiving, chugging away.
Yep.
Trying to remember because I'm remembering 2004 Thanksgiving
Chugging
time
away
vividly.
is a clue.
Polar Express.
Oh yeah. Which opened small
Open small, and people were like, "Oh, I guess
because it was crazy expensive. People went like Des Darnell, and then it just kept fucking playing.
Polar Express, baby."
Train kept chugging.
Number 5 is another sequel in a franchise. It's a weird sequel. It's a weird movie.
Another weird sequel.
Forgot this is
Blade
it's
Trinity.
Yes. How did you get
Wow.
that so
I remember
fast?
this season very vividly.
Jesus, Blade Trinity, which was kind of a flop.
Yes.
Weird movie. Beale, Ryan Reynolds. And that was when people were like, Ryan Reynolds, ooh.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be his big, like, coming out as an action star.
Right.
Hannibal King, and they fight Dracula. That's the movie where Blade finally fights Dracula, and he's played by Prison Break.
Wentworth Miller.
The other one.
Oh, Big Head? Dominic Purcell?
Correct.
Yeah, he's got a big old potato head.
He's not Dracula.
He plays Dracula.
Wentworth Miller, not bad. I can see that.
But like that guy, Dracula's not a hulking
But that movie contains the best supporting actress performance of 2004.
Parker Posey.
Correct.
Yeah. She's good in it.
You're a vampire, Blade. You like drinking blood. So I'm going to tie you to this chair until you're so hungry that you need blood and you're ready to turn to a vampire, and I'm going to drop a little girl in here and you're going to eat her, Blade. That's the actual monologue she gives.
That's amazing. And
great way to end our Spanglish episode.
It was just 2 years away from her wonderful supporting turn in Superman.
Yeah.
Oh, she's great in that crazy fucking
She
movie.
did a good run of heel turns in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Josie and the
Cal Penn supposed to
Pussycats.
speak a word. Remember that?
And he's like
Superman.
6 built.
I know, it's crazy.
Apparently he was like old roommates with Brandon Routh when they were like getting started. And he was like, can we cast Cal Penn? He's like, does he want to be a featured extra?
Yeah, right. Does he want to be the henchman who doesn't speak?
Right.
Anyway, so that's the movie. The Aviator opened that weekend too in 40 screens, as did Million Dollar Baby in 8 screens.
Aviator was ultimately did pretty well, right?
Becomes the first Scorsese to crack a hundo.
Did quite well, made 102, was very expensive, but still, like,
But Scorsese's never been a century man before
I know.
that.
And I remember when that movie came out, it did feel like a turnaround after Gangs of New York, which like the whole narrative was like, cost so much money, didn't even make that much, didn't win any Oscars, yeah. Thank you, Ben.
Some merchandise spotlight. I'm going to buy Ben the Spanglish Blu-ray.
Yep.
I love you, Ben.
What the bleep do we know has almost hit $10 million?
That's a weird run that we never talked about.
A Marley Matlin vehicle?
Yeah. What the bleep do we know? I always think that
Apparently
gif
nothing.
of the lady like thinking of the weird
you think
is
it's
from
from
What the bleep do we know, but it's not.
Is it fuck or hell?
I don't know.
I think it's supposed to be fuck.
Okay.
What the fuck do we know?
But that's the central question that made audiences go back to the theater
Right.
over and over
That was
again
revealed
to
in
try to figure it out.
a post-credits tag.
Didn't
where
they
Marley
also-
Matlin just comes up and goes, fuck.
Isn't one of those movies where then it was like huge on DVD and then they re-edited it and put new features onto it and then like did a special edition in theaters that made another couple of $1 million?
Yeah, sure. I don't even know what it's about.
Yeah, they added in another Jabba scene.
I swear to God, there's another release of that movie called like What the Bleep Do We Know? Deeper Down the Rabbit Hole. And it's
I
like
think you're
not a
right,
sequel.
yeah.
It's like an expanded edition
Right.
that was
I
released in theaters.
Yeah, I released it.
Blank Check Pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, my trolls, your What the Bleep Do We Know?
To be fair,
bleeps.
to be fair, that was Blank Check Classics. That was our specialty arm.
Right, yeah. Blank check vantage.
Because the Esther Zuckerman film is a 4-quadrant picture
Right.
for us. Yeah.
Of course.
Unless
Sarah
Disney
Steele,
buys you
you
in
kidding me?
What did you
Butts
say?
in seats she puts.
Yeah. I said unless Disney buys you, and then they're going to shut you down.
Disney is,
That's
I mean,
true.
we're angling for a buyout.
Right. Well, at this point, Disney has bought all major studios. I'm assuming this episode's going to come out a little while from now. So, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, yeah, it's just like Disney and like Sony because Disney's like, no thanks.
Do you know that Disney owns all, I've talked about this with you. Disney owns all the characters that were created for the Tick cartoon show.
Oh, yes, you have talked about me.
Because the Tick cartoon
they
was
own
done for
Fox
Fox,
Family, right.
and there were only 12
Fox
issues of the
Kids, sorry.
comic before they got the cartoon. So there are all these characters that like people constantly ask us if they're going to be on the show.
And you're like,
Right.
But Disney
yeah,
like
bring
won't
it up on
sell the
Disney.
rights because it's like it's not worth getting off the couch for them. It's like it's
Come
not
on,
like
$50, a couple Spanglish Blu-rays.
I've
Yeah.
thrown it
$50
out.
is a lot of money.
I keep on sending Bob Iger like $50 on Venmo and being like, just give me sewer urchin. That's all I want is sewer urchin,
Sure.
and they won't do it.
Do you think they'd notice if you did it? If you just be like, do you think Disney would sort of be like, hey, that's ours?
Well, that's why the Warburton show they have Batman Well is like they came up with all these like workaround characters.
All right, I got to
Disney
pee.
did. Okay, you got
Richard's got to go. We're done.
This
is a great app, though.
Richard, your book out now in hardback.
Yeah, all we can do is wait. It's called, but you don't have to wait anymore.
Hey,
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
put it in those greasy mitts of yours.
Yeah, it's a quick read. It's for teenagers. Give it to your teen.
Give it to your teen.
Have a teen.
Give it to Sarah Steele if
Give
you
it to
don't know
Sarah
a real
Steele in
teen.
2004.
She can pass.
Yep.
You're the best.
Yep.
Thanks for
always
having
a
me. 5
pleasure.
time.
This is a good
So
one.
do I
The
get
Five
my
Timers Club.
Yeah.
We forgot the ceremony.
It's a 5-timer.
I get
It's
a jacket.
Yeah.
Five-timer.
You're wearing
club.
a nice sweater.
Yeah, well, thanks. It was on sale.
So we'll send the bathrobe to your home. We have an engraved,
Oh, good.
embroidered.
Who else is in this?
By this
Emily,
point, Emily will be in there.
That's maybe it.
JD's at 4. I think he's tapping on the
I
door.
think it's just you and
at 5,
Emily.
right? Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
Interesting.
Oh, wow. You're going to shank her at the commuter screening tonight?
Yeah, that's right. So by the time this airs, I'll be in jail.
Yes, correct. Yes,
Also, by the time
exactly.
this episode comes out, it's 2025, right?
Yeah, exactly. Mars 2025.
Yes.
Mars is reopened.
Yes. We're back, baby. We're going to make it this time. 2112.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks to Ann Fergudo for our social media, Joe Bone and Pat Reynolds for our artwork, Lane Montgomery for our theme song. Go to blinkies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit.
And thank you to our sponsors, Brooklyn and We Transfer.
And as always, Adam Sandler fundamentally cannot come.
Great.